Hello, coming at you live from my sensory overload dome, where we have at least 4 streams on at any given time for the last 4 days. It's one half of HotKeys Esports, Pretyer, and joining me as always, constantly, as constant as the tides. Please,
Doban, also in the Esports Goon Caves.
dude. I've been in it. That is not a joke. We just had ourselves a nice little staycation, a little bit of PTO usage.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say that I have the last few days of my vacation were spent just fucking in the trenches, consuming the content. We had Capcom Cup 11, the culmination of the 2024 Street Fighter season going on. We had Race to World First, which we're going to talk about today.
Yep.
Going on, and
Is that still
in
happening?
addition,
Did they get it?
oh, that's still going on. No,
Okay.
that's still going on. It's
Right.
shaping up. We'll talk about it in a little bit. It's shaping up to be an interesting tier. We'll
Nice.
say that. But yeah, that's been going on. HoloFest was going on, so we had our VTuber concert going on. Gotta keep up with that. Great show for anyone interested in anime, girls, and music. Good stuff. So really, yeah, just a multi-monitor experience all around going on for the last few days. Feel like I mistimed it slightly. I was like looking. I was really stoked. I was like, I think this break is gonna time well with like Capcom Cup and all this other shit. It kind of didn't. Capcom Cup ended up running right up till last night, which definitely affected my sleep a little bit for today.
Yeah. Daylight savings and everything.
Like I said, the meat of the Race to World First pretty much started 2 days ago, and with the way the tier is shaping up, it's probably gonna go all of this week. So
We're in
really,
for the long haul on that.
I was gonna say it's looking like a tier. Oh boy. But yeah. So today, I think we were kind of going around because there's a couple of big bangers with like Capcom Cup and stuff like that, but there's not too much. We're still awaiting First Stand, which is like fast coming up.
Yep.
Fast approaching, but we're a little in between events right now. So we were talking about, what do we want to talk about? Like what do we want to talk about in this episode? And around that time we were discussing that, I had been in the Race to World First had started last Tuesday, technically. That was the release of the raid. And I had been watching that, and I'd been consuming a lot of content on it going up to it. I've become like a recent viewer of the race.
Yeah.
And as of last year, which was, I forget, it was last year. I forget the exact timing. I want to say around September-ish, somewhere in that area. And I was thinking about it, and I'm like, what do we want to talk about? And I was like, this is like this race stuff is like, it's kind of weird, and it's like I definitely would call it esport to myself, but like it's like a strange thing, and it's like very niche, and it's like there's not a lot like it.
Traditional esports in the way that we
exactly
think of,
like
and
it is
MOBAs
inherently it is like simultaneously it is like it's PvE, but it's also PvP at the same time, and I was like, what if we gave the pitch on some of our, because you and I are both obviously versed in multiple things. Yeah, we're esports schooners. We're out here with our laundry list of favorite games and links and things. And fucking 10-point scale ratings on it all.
Yeah.
And I was like, what if we had a little pitch show today where we each pitch a lesser known, like one of our niche, the deep cut. We go into the Criterion library, we head into the closet, and we pull out, I was gonna say Gremlins 2, but Gremlins 2 might not. Yeah, great. We pull out the Gremlins 2 of esports. We pitch it to both our counterpart, I to you and you to I, and our audience simultaneously. And that was going to make up our big topic for today.
Yeah, let's get into it. I've got
No, yeah,
a
I was
short
gonna say,
laundry
what do
list.
you got? Hit me with your
Yeah,
shit first, because I've put together a little thing in the last couple days, or some ideas of how I want to present. So give me what you got, because
I got.
I've tipped my hand a little bit.
So I've got a relatively short list. As we know, I consume the big three of esports, right? League, Dota, Counter Strike, and then I'll sprinkle in some Apex, some other I don't want to say niche
Yeah.
games because those are bigger games. People care about those here and there. I watched Halo the other day for like the first time in years just to see what was
Wow.
going. It
Yeah,
was on
I
late at night and I was like, I just need background noise. So I watched like an Optic game and I'm like, oh, okay. And then like
Optic
yeah,
is still
Optic was
competing in that?
they're like a mainstay in Halo, man. Also like Envy
Wow.
apparently is coming back as an org. They've been making
Didn't
tons
they
of moves.
so didn't they combine with someone? I
They
thought I was
combined with Optic.
Optic,
So it
right? Yeah, I was
was
gonna say. I was
yeah.
like, I think it was a partnership. Is why Envy is back. I know they're back because they got Wizrobe back for Smash.
Yeah, they're making tons of moves. Like
Wizrobe was signed to them.
they're putting together rosters and all kinds of different things. So, you know, I digress.
Yeah.
But yeah, some of the games, and you know what, we'll use the Halo and like the OG era of esports as a jumping off point for this.
Hmm.
I'll start farther back and work my way up. So,
Sure.
kind of interesting how this has shifted over the years and within the cultural zeitgeist of esports, and that's
Oh yeah.
Quake. That's Quake.
Oh yes,
Big
yes,
Quake
yes.
fan. Love playing Quake. I preach.
I have a love hate relate. Like I love
Yeah,
it, and then like I hate it at the same time. I love it though. Yeah, I
I
love it more than I
preach
hate it.
to everyone I know about how good Quake is and how it's the epitome of gaming. For better or for worse, right? There's
That
things.
style of game is so
Yeah,
underserviced in the modern era. Like
the
absolutely.
the arena shooter like genre has kind of turned into the hero shooter genre in a sense where
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think that's a
you
fair take.
you look at like Overwatch and Paladins and the control
They
points
take
are
cues
essentially
from it.
arenas, right?
Yeah.
The health pack spawns mimic the armor and the weapon spawns to an extent, right? You see the same thing with
Yeah.
TF2 and there's a level of similarities, a level of um
See,
familiarity with all that. But
I think you nailed it with TF2 actually, because I actually think TF2 is like a weird, like it's the missing link in what you're
yes,
talking about, right? Where
yes, because it's the
TF2 I
source
think
engine
more
still.
directly, yeah, like TF2 more directly pulls from arena shooters, and
Mhm.
then Overwatch and things like that are more directly pulling from TF2, but it does
Yeah.
create that through line you're talking about.
So Quake just as a game, I'm gonna gush about Quake for a bit. Quake as a game, we talked about it in an earlier episode. Map control, phenomenal.
Yes, yes.
Love that the main strategy of that game is short, hitting flicks, getting frags, but it's map control and it's knowing
No, yeah.
the ins and outs of those maps. Right? You look at Counter Strike and
It's creating a snowball, like a
yes,
literally like a you almost create like a route, and you things snowball out of control in that game so fast, where it's like someone
from
establishes map control and
yeah,
suddenly you just die for 20 kills straight. Like
from a perspective of a Quake player, if someone is playing the map better than you don't get to play the game, right?
no, yeah, it literally
You are
feels
getting
impossible.
spawn killed instantaneously, like
Yes.
again for like 20 kills, like it's
Yeah.
nonsense.
No, the game is over. You're right. Like if they are, it is now. You enter a lock state where literally, like you said, it's not even on you to outplay them. It is on them to fuck up. Like
And like
you know.
you look at like Quake 1 through 3, right, which are like the one's probably less competitive than 3. 3 I think is like the Quake esports that we all know and love, like Quake Live.
It's yeah, it's definitely from what the little I know. It is like
Yeah.
the one that people talk about is definitely Quake 3.
It's between Live and Champions, but Champions went
Yeah,
the hero shooter route, so not my favorite, not the route I think it
sure.
should have gone. Um,
Yeah,
but
not the
no,
right modernizations for it. I agree with you.
nevertheless they did, and here's where we are. No new Quake games.
Hmm.
but but you look at Quake 3 and oh man, it's been a minute since I played it, but if I remember correctly, there's no like spawn protection when you respawn in that game.
I don't believe so.
So if
If
you're
it is,
like
it's extremely minimal.
yeah, like you're it's from like the moment you move, right? And if you're not moving,
I think that's what it is. I think
then
literally if you touch your mouse, it ends spawn protection. So the second,
yeah.
yeah, you move, it's doomed.
So if you die, like you go AFK, right? You'll AFK timer get kicked or whatever. But if I'm
Yeah.
again, I haven't played Quake Live, Quake 3 in at least like 2 years, 3 years at this point. So I could be mistaken. But
Yeah.
you're running around, right? You get fragged, and then if they know spawns, if they you're getting spawn camped essentially, right? Which isn't fun for a lot of people. But
No.
in Quake in Quake, it's like you deserved it, right? It's not fun in COD when you're on shipment getting spawn camped, right?
Yeah.
Like BO2, or was shipment BO2, or was that? No, that was Modern Warfare. I'm tripping. My fault. It's a Modern Warfare map.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's not fun when you're in like a sniper duel
The
lobby.
loop. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, anyone who's played, we all make the mistake whenever a new COD. At least I do. I don't know. Other
Mhm.
people may have wisened up and been smarter than me. I make the mistake every time a new COD comes out, where I'll just queue and I'll leave free for all on my queue because I'm like, this is the iteration that free for all is fixed. And then you play that one game of free for all where you realize the spawns are still terrible.
Mhm.
They're never gonna fix it. They probably can't, to be fair to them. I don't even think it's like necessarily possible with the way they design maps and how many people are in a free for all. And you go, yeah, I'll just never play this again. And then you turn free for all off for the remainder of that COD's journey.
I think the problem is that there's too many people in free for all.
No, yeah, you're right. You're absolutely correct. I think it is a combination of the maps you're playing on with the number of people in free for all. It just makes it impossible for there to be good spawns. Period.
But as I've been selling Quake as a bad game now, the good parts, the good parts
Well,
are
no. To be fair, what
yeah.
you're talking about, so I do think it's important to stress because you're right. Spawn camping isn't fun, and it is a big part of like competitive Quake.
Mhm.
But to be fair, in competitive Quake, it is earned on two things:
Yes.
one, map knowledge, and two, movement execution
Movement.
to get to the location.
That was my next point, right? So if you're getting spawn camped in Quake, you deserve to get spawn camped. Like you have put yourself in that position because you're trash. Played it simple. If you're
Yeah.
getting spawn camped in Quake,
You
right?
lost the duel from the jump, whatever
You
that
lost the
opening duel
duel,
was. Yeah.
right? And there's a level of like it parallels fighting it. There's a level of footsies within
Oh
Quake
yeah.
for your
100%.
movement, right? How are you rocket jumping? Can you afford to rocket jump? Are you tap strafing around this corner, right? Do you know where they are? Do you know what pickups they just got? Did you see them? Can you predict their movement? There's a
Yeah.
whole lot. The
What was the
spacing,
route from moment one did you take to
right,
get the guns you needed for this opening fight?
right.
And
Did they take the
what
jump
did you
pad up to
plot
get
for
the yellow
theirs? Yeah.
armor? Or did
Yeah.
they turn to the left to pick up the rocket launcher, right? What do I have? Am I picking up the railgun? Where's this going?
Yeah.
And it's because of that tug of war at the start of the game where you get those real nail biters, and we'll get into this because I know you have like a set of questions to follow up with all these.
Hmm.
So I'll get into a lot of that when we get there, but yeah, it's those in between moments where you're like, who's gonna land that first hit, and it's
Hmm.
like watching a combo in a fighting game, right? It's like
Yeah.
who's gonna win this footsies to get that opener, to get that corkscrew in Tekken, to get
Yeah.
that opener in Street Fighter, right? That overhead or something,
Sure.
right?
Absolutely.
How is
Yeah.
that going to translate? Are they going to draw like because there's a time where oh they've run out of rocket ammo, they've run out of
Yeah.
um
That the route
the
has to be
the beam
altered.
gunners,
You can no longer intercept the spawn. Yeah. No.
right?
hundred
And
percent.
then that opens up. So are they going to counterattack? Do they know they're going to go for this next one? Are they going to go for the pickup again to refill on ammo before looping back around to get you? Right? Every part of that, every part of watching Quake, watching high level Quake, playing Quake is so enjoyable because of that. And like, sure, you get put in the mix, and you're like, "This game is trash. I hate this. This is so
Yeah.
unfun. Where's my spawn protection? I have no choice. I have like no chance to play the game." Sure, but it's like you load into the next match afterwards because you're like, "But I can do better." It's you get rinsed in a fighting game, you go back into training mode because you're like, "I can do better." Right? It's that same
Oh yeah.
thing. How
No.
can I
Absolutely.
optimize my movement? How can I turn this corner faster? How can I get the jump on them sooner, better? Like, how can I out aim them? Railgun duels over like a gap, just in general, flying through a map, spinning
Railgun
like
is one of the most
360 no
satisfying
scope.
guns to use in a game.
So
Yeah.
good.
No.
So there
It
would be
feels railgun headshots feel amazing. Like
there would
there's
be no trick
really
shotting. there would be
Yeah.
no scope montages without the railgun. I mean, there
Yeah.
probably
No.
would, but you know, the railgun is like where the hype of that came from. You load into COD for the first time off of being a Quake player for the last like 20 years, right? COD came out, new game, multiplayer, pick up the sniper. You're like, damn, this is like the railgun. You just start down. You're like, can I do great? Like the movement's not great, but can I like dolphin dive or drop shot off this ledge and hit a crazy shot? And you do it, and it's so satisfying. That's that's the joy. That's my love for Quake.
Yeah. I'm with you 100 on the railgun. One of the most satisfying guns to use in
It's
any
so
game.
good.
Period.
If
Period. Hard stop.
if you don't want to like get invested into like hardcore Quake, Quake 1 and 2 and Live are available very cheap on Steam. Very good games. Their campaigns are fun. Very it's like it's just Doom, but you can look up and down.
Yeah.
Like it's great.
True. Yeah.
And it's 3D. So like before Doom was like 3D models, Quake was like the first one that had like a full 3D environment and characters and models and everything. So it was cool. It's a good time. But if you don't want to, shell out the money for any of that or get into something that you might be like, oh, it's hyper competitive, I'm gonna get dog walked. Roblox, funny enough, has Hell Reaver, one of my favorite games on
Yes.
Roblox. It's just Quake. You just load into a match. You have
I remember the
most
first
of the
time. The thing that surprised me about the first time I saw that is actually the
yeah.
aesthetics, because I didn't even know it was Roblox. Like the
Yeah,
first
no,
time
it looks
someone
like
showed
it
it
looks
to
like an
me.
actual video game.
Yeah.
It has the same kind of like b-hop like crazy movement, but on top of that they added a dash to your move set, so you have just enhanced movement altogether. Like you have a dash to just jump out of the way of stuff, like horizontal back, like any. It's so good. It's so play Hell Reaver, play Quake. It's one of the older esports now, and as I started off this point with it's fallen out of favor in the modern esports zeitgeist. Quake was one of the biggest games in the world for esports at the time, right? Quake,
Oh
we
yeah.
had our RTSs like StarCraft, Age of Empires, Age of Mythology, all that, Warcraft.
Mhm.
Quake kind of was in a league of its own, being a first-person shooter, being faster, being more action-based. The APM required for all that was akin to StarCraft's to make things happen, but it was like the high octane metal version of that. So to see it kind of fallen from grace in the
It
modern
was
era
like
is
that
disappointing.
and like Unreal Tournament,
Yeah.
which is obviously very much Quake adjacent, right? Like very
Yes.
inspired by Quake.
Yes.
Yeah, that and Unreal Tournament. I remember in the early days of my youth seeing that on TV, and just being like, "Damn, what is
And
this?"
there's still tournaments being run for both those games, right? There's a decent scene like publicly. I say publicly, but like more in the casual eye of
In
things
its
for Unreal
space, yeah.
Tournament.
I mean, Quake Live, like Quake Live is like you said, Quake Live is a great port. I mean, it's
Yeah.
just Quake 3, but online. Like
Yeah.
it's all there. Like the game is there. Yeah.
It's
Not
and it's
not like
free.
you can't play
And
it,
it's
nothing like that.
free.
Yeah.
Quake Live is
It's great.
free.
Yeah. Quake Live is great.
It's too good. It's too good. Also, if
I
you have
didn't know
Game
it was
Pass,
free.
all those games are
That's
free. So by all means, check them out. But moving on, because I can talk about Quake until I'm blue in the face, and this will
hell
be
yeah.
another 4 hour episode, and we've only got like one that's 4 hours, and that was a bitch to upload. So
Oh yeah.
yeah, no, it was a pain in the ass. But moving on, next on my list, Tetris. Now I know Tetris is older than Quake, but Tetris is more popular than Quake, right? And you
One of the most popular
specific,
games in the world.
it's the perfect video game, and I will die on that hill. Fight me on it. Show me where I'm wrong. That
Yeah.
Tetris is a flawed game, and we'll go band for band on that one.
Which version
Tetris,
of Tetris is the correct version of Tetris though?
both. This is like a cop out answer, but in reality,
So
both
you
versions.
think true? Do you actually? So I think
Oh, so
you
versions
think
meaning
true.
what?
You think true. I'm talking about like the difference
Modern
between
versus
OG Tetris,
classic?
which I'm talking like true random Tetris versus like
Okay.
the
Bag
bag,
Tetris.
like yeah, the
Okay.
bag Tetris. Which to those who
So
don't know what I mean is the original OG Tetris is true random. Every piece
yes,
is literally just they pull a piece
it
out of
is
thin air.
a random
It
number
is
1 through
yeah,
7 Each piece is
Yeah.
assigned a number. You get
So
one of those
you can
pieces
get,
randomly.
it's true random. You can get fucking 5 line pieces in a fucking row. Like
Yep.
it does not matter. As to where later on, I could not tell you when they did this, but at some point, I think pretty soon after OG Tetris.
It was in one of the modern, not like more
Yeah,
modern games for
like
like the
PS1 or
Game Boy
64
Advance,
or something
something
like
like
that.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. They switched to like a they I call it like a bag method. They might call it,
Mhm.
but like basically you
Nope, that's
have
how
to
it's
get,
described by most people.
yeah, you have to get, before you can get the same piece twice, you must get every other piece. It pulls a piece out of the bag, and once the
Mhm.
bag is empty, it refills the bag with, all of
The
the pieces
order
again.
in which you get those pieces is randomized
It's
though.
totally
So
random. Yeah, it's pulling a random piece out of the bag, but once
so
that
like
piece is out, you can't get it again until the bag is empty.
your last piece could have been a Z, and then the next piece of that, like the first piece in the next bag is another Z,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah, exactly.
you'll get a
You
piece
can get
no more than
doubles.
two
Yeah,
times in a
because
row.
exactly. The worst that can happen is you can double on a piece. That
Yes.
is the high, the worst that can happen on in terms of duplication in modern Tetris, which I think is probably, in my opinion, just straight up superior. Like I don't.
Yeah. So that's where I'm at, right? I think classic Tetris is definitely a harder game,
Oh
right?
yeah,
And because
harder.
of
I don't
that,
think is a question. You don't even get
because
extra
of the
points
way,
for shit, right? Either like for T spins or anything. I don't think
no,
there's
they
any
didn't.
like extra
Yeah,
points.
up until so there's modern-ish
Classic, I
games
don't think has it. Like classic, I think if you did a T spin, the game would just,
like
it would give you the
yeah,
same amount of like clears. It does not like quantify that you didn't even
NES
do
and
that.
Game Boy Tetris are the same game, so
Yes,
they will not give you. They'll just give you the points for clearing the lines because
for the
it's
clears,
simple.
that's it.
You
Yeah.
clear the lines. A Tetris is worth the most amount of points you can get
Yep.
in one clear. This, that, and the other, right?
Yeah.
So sure, there's a merit to
Simple.
how random and how simple classic Tetris is, which is why the classic Tetris Championship (CTC) is or CTWC because World Championships uh is so popular, right? The plinking method or the rolling, whatever it is, the hitting back the controller, like all the tech learned to optimize the game, beating the game, getting high scores, this, that, and the other has all been really cool. It's really cool to see how the scene for this almost like 100-year-old game at this point. Not really, I'm exaggerating, but
No,
how old
I
is
mean
Tetris?
extremely old game. Yeah, extremely
Yeah.
old game.
Like 80 something, so we're looking at like a 40, 50-year-old game now, right?
Yeah,
40,
easily. Like
like a 40-year-old
just
game.
just just estimating. Yeah, I would
Yeah.
say.
So it I think it's cool. I think it's great from a competitive standpoint though, right? You are basing a random number generated game to count score, right? So there are moments where you're watching CTWC and someone is just getting dog walked by RNG. They could be playing out of their minds. They could be stacking more lines than somebody. They could be doing it faster. They could be more efficient, but they're getting completely
Yeah.
shafted on the
Yeah,
RNG.
just a bad seed. Yeah, just
Right.
literally a terrible
And
seed. Fucking it's over.
and
Like
because the difficulty of the game is based on, I think it's based on line clears or like
it's
a score
lines.
thing.
Yeah, yeah. It's
Yeah,
lines. So basically, every time you clear a certain number of lines, like the difficulty will ramp. It
right.
doesn't matter. Like
Doesn't
that's
matter if
why
you got
it's like it's just
Tetrises
like
or anything like
yeah,
that.
it's just
It's
if you could, in theory, the optimal way to play the game is to exclusively get Tetrises because it's the best like difficulty to point budget you can possibly get.
yeah. So with that, right, it's I feel like it's less competitive than modern Tetris because modern Tetris, sure, you're getting
You
there's a
can
level of
actively,
RNG with the bag,
but
but
you can plan around it.
there's
Yeah.
you can plan around it. There's ways to increase your score based on what you have with T spins and Z
Yes.
spins, L
It
spins.
makes setups and things like that more important for sure.
Right. So that brings me into the modern Tetris. Modern Tetris is probably my favorite version of Tetris because of how competitive it is. Um,
Yeah.
watching players like Wumbo, Doremi, right, doing insane things on the sticks, man. Those guys are not just insane at Tetris, they're insane at just puzzle games and even rhythm games in
Oh
general.
yeah. A lot of
Light shout out to
crossover
rhythm
there.
games. Not a big rhythm game fan. I do respect it. There is an Osu World Cup that exists. If you are into rhythm games and esports, go check it out. It exists. There's a small niche scene for it, but they love their games. Groove Coaster's another one that I really like. That's it.
I love rhythm games. I'm not great at them, but yeah, I mean there's a lot of great ones out there. Osu is a fantastic open source one. Qbeat, Groove Coaster, Sound Voltex, all the
DJ
above.
Max, DJ Max Respect, whatever it's called.
Oh yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, there's a newer you can name there's some really cool niche rhythm games out there.
Step Mania, right?
You ever heard of Nostalgia? I
I
love
have heard Nostalgia.
Nostalgia's sick. It simulates a piano. It's dope as hell. Like
There's a machine at a arcade out in Orlando that's pretty cool. It's somewhere close to Mineola. So if you're in
is
the
it
central,
Sound Voltex or
no, it's a Nostalgia machine.
oh a Nostalgia
Yeah, yeah,
cab?
yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean yeah, that
Super
game's sick
sick.
as hell.
Tetris though. Modern
Yeah,
Tetris, the mechanics that they've implemented, and these modern Tetris, I'm gonna be talking about like Puyo Puyo Tetris because
yeah,
those
yeah,
are
yeah. Yeah.
the
That's we're not talking about like effect with like zone and shit like that. Yeah,
yeah,
no.
but the mechanics that are in Puyo Puyo Tetris come from older modern Tetris games.
Yeah,
Stuff from like the DS and even the browser version from Tetris.com, Tetris with friends, things like that. Um, Garbage is a big one. The
yeah.
garbage mechanic is very cool. Lines generate a certain number of garbage. Garbage is sent upon a piece landing if it doesn't complete a line. So both players will see the garbage that they are receiving, and if you are clearing lines, if you're getting combos, then that line will progressively go down. If you hit a piece and it doesn't clear a line, then then all the garbage falls on you, and then you now have to play around this new battlefield to clear out the garbage by clearing lines and send more garbage uh, with your combos. And you kind of got to work a little harder, but if you're comboing, you're playing good, then it's a lot. It's a big tug of war. It's really cool. And then to win, you want to top out. So you want to send them enough garbage that it forces them up into, I'll call it the blast zone for the sake of
Beyond
this.
the square, beyond the play square.
Yeah, top of the screen until you can't see it anymore. Once you hit that, then the kill threshold is met and your board disintegrates and you lose. The all the mechanics to send garbage, like I mentioned before, with T spins, L spins, Z spins, even O spins exist, but they don't really do anything. They exist. There's an icon for it in Puyo Puyo Tetris, but
That's pretty funny. I didn't know
yeah,
that.
you get like a 1x1 area, but with like a 2x2 area underneath it, and then you can like flip the you have to like trap the cube into an area first, and then you can flip it down into the box, and if it you can stack them on top of each other to just flip it all the way down. I'll send you a video later. It's really cool.
Interesting.
But yeah, it's doable. It's funny. But with all that, being able to send garbage and those combos and those special moves counting for different line counts, right? A T-spin triple sends or only counts for 3 lines, but it'll send like 6. It'll double what you're
Yeah,
sending,
like
or like
it
9 lines. Like
multiplies the garbage. Yeah.
it's almost as much as a Tetris, right? And because it's hard execution, right? The setup
Yes.
for it, also setting up your board while having to deal with garbage to send it. The speed at which you have to play and the efficiency that you need, the openers and everything to go along with Tetris is it's artwork to watch. I'm being very dramatic about it, but I truly feel like watching Tetris is like watching a piece of art. Like just the blocks, the way they stack, the way people open. You'll see strategies in real time.
Hmm.
Phenomenal game to watch. Watch Wumbo, watch Doremi, hop on to Tetrio, that's TETR.io. Uh, get Puyo Puyo Tetris if you can, because they both have online play. Tetrio is a browser game, so you can play it within the browser. You can download it to play on desktop if you want. It's completely free. There's leaderboards. There's solo modes. The solo modes. This game has solo modes with you can practice your 40 line clears. How fast and efficiently can you do it? There's ways to practice. Like there's ways to improve at this game built in to the tools that are already available within the game. Right? Puyo Puyo Tetris has it too. The speedrun mode, I spend hours on speedrun mode. I think my record is like 4 hours straight. Just like 8 billion points by the end of it, just stacking lines, dude.
Oh no,
So sick.
I feel you.
So sick. You just get lost in Tetris. Special shout out to some other puzzle games. Um, Pokemon Puzzle Blast. It goes by, it's like Yoshi somewhere else or something like that. The one with the tiles that you like swap the tiles around is really fun.
Oh yes, I know what you're talking about. I can't
Um,
remember the name of it, but yeah.
Puzzle Bobble, the ones with the little like dinosaurs where you like shoot the orbs and it's like you shoot them, you can ricochet
Yes.
them off the walls. That one's also very fun. My
Yeah.
personal favorite, Magical Drop 3. Very cool game.
Oh yeah.
Um, there's Puzzle Fighter, of course.
Oh
Just
yeah.
different,
Classic.
a lot of those games, different patterns that you can do to uh,
Yeah, it's like
maximize your
part of the
score.
gem
It's got some
fighter
things,
era type shit.
yeah.
Yeah.
There's some things baked into that. Not just puzzle, but like Magical Drop 2 also has like a combo
Mhm.
system or like a board layout. Like characters have board layout specific things, and then you can play around that. So like
You
you know how to
clear,
hit.
yeah, if you clear your board with a specific layout of blocks, it'll do like additional effect,
Yeah.
basically. More card.
So puzzle games are sick. Puzzle games are really a super underrated
Um,
esport. Like there's just it might not be like as flashy and as hype as like League of Legends might be, but on a
there's
one
beauty
v
in that
one, yeah,
simplicity, though. Yeah, I would say
on a
there's a
one v
ton of
one
beauty
scale,
in that simplicity.
just kind of seeing the it's a lot like APM in like from those games.
Well,
The
yeah,
esports athleticism,
the simplicity creates the depth. Like
yeah,
that's the whole point. Is it is such a very simple game, and like, but there is so much like optimization in that simplicity that it creates, and like because it's so simple, like you said, it creates a pace thing where like
yeah.
yeah, the pace of a competitive Tetris game is absurd. It's so fast. Like there's a do you know what Komodo Michi is?
I'm slightly familiar. I know the name.
So yeah, Daigo Daigo had this series he created called Kimono Michi, and
Hmm.
it dates back to I want to say like 2021, somewhere around there, maybe like 2022. And he did one, and I think he did like four of them in total. I don't think there's ever been a five, and he did them basically. His whole thing was he only did them when he had matches, but the whole it was a series of like extended matches, so like first to fives, first to tens
Yeah.
in different games. But the whole point was all of the matches had to be between people who had like either beef or like something to prove. Like it was never, it wasn't like a tournament thing. It was like if you had a kimono, it was basically just a
To
thing
like
to
settle a
feature, like
score.
literal grudge matches. Yeah, like
Yeah.
actual, and like there were Street Fighter ones, there was ones, but there were I think two different ones that had like Tetris beef and like Tetris sets in Kimono Michis. I know Kimono Michi
Hmm.
4 had one. I believe the second or the third one had one where there was like an old school Japanese Tetris legend who was really pissed off about this dude who had become the number one Tetris player online, but he had never been to like anything offline. And the dude was like the legend from the offline called him out. And he's like, "Bro, play me offline. Like you are dog shit. Like I will smash you offline straight up." So they had a Komodo Michi grudge match to settle that. Um, and yeah, that shit's crazy. Like I said, it looks nuts to watch. Like games can it's so funny because yeah, games can be like long or games can be decided within literally a minute of them
From
starting.
the opener, dude.
It's
Like
yeah,
you'll get
like I saw openers that legit just auto killed like opponents and like it because they didn't respond correctly or whatever. Like
like a perfect clear, which is what happens when you're opening board, when you clear your entire board, right? And so an opening perfect clear, which is doable, you just need to know how to turn your pieces. There's openers to practice. Will almost instant kill somebody. Like that is if
it's
you
really
stack,
it's very almost extreme. Like yeah, it's
yeah.
next to impossible to recover from.
If you stack like perfect clears, like your opener's a perfect clear, you set up a board, and then the next like break you do is a perfect clear, you pretty much killed somebody. Like there's very little they can do for recovery, but it happens. It's doable. And it's the same thing in a fighting game, like the TODs, right?
Yeah. Yeah, depending on your game. Yeah,
God,
100%.
every game could just be a fighting game, man. Fighting games are the perfect esport. You've heard it here first.
I would say neutral is a universal concept.
Yeah,
If you expand it out for sure.
yeah.
um
Extrapolating neutral.
Extrapolating neutral. Yeah, no, as someone who's also I'm not good at Tetris by any stretch of the imagination, but I do love it. I'm a big fan. I love a classic like a default game for me if I'm like I want to do something but I don't like want to like super commit to anything. A classic thing is I will boot up Tetris Effect, and I'll just play through the campaign in marathon mode and just try
Yeah,
to one to and play from level 1 all the way to the end of the game in one shot, and it's great every time. It's just a good feeling. Like
yeah. No, it's Tetris Effect 2 is just a beautiful game.
I love Tetris Effect.
Viewers might be wondering, hey, you mentioned Puyo Puyo Tetris. You left out Puyo Puyo. I hate that game. I suck at it. I
I
think
don't get it. Yeah, I don't get it.
it's Dr. Mario, but like cracked out. I'm garbage. I've
That
tried
shit's hard.
learning.
Honestly, that shit's hard.
It's hard, bro. I'm from NA. My brain does not work that fast. Like I've seen the combo play from like Doremi's French, by the way.
Yeah, when
I've
you
seen
watch
like the
motherfuckers like
switch
do the thing
back.
where all the Puyos just start dropping into one another to create like these absurd.
And
Yeah, I don't get it. I don't
dude,
get it at
no,
all.
and it's fucked too because you'll watch if you watch like I forget the name of the mode in PPT, but in PPT when it switches back and forth, if you have a combo started in Puyo, it will keep going while you're playing Tetris. Gravity still
Uh,
affects the smaller board. So you are
that's
clearing lines, decimating somebody in Tetris, and you have a Puyo combo going off in the bottom left corner of your screen.
that's gross.
The
Yeah,
moment
that's
the
disgusting.
moment it ends, the moment they drop a line, it is game over. It's done. Like they zero recovery.
Yeah, we love that. We love
Ah,
that.
dude, it's so good. It's so good. Just what? Okay, I don't know if it's still. I'm still in the Discord. I don't know if it still goes on because COVID ruined so many tournaments. But there is a
True.
puzzle game tournament that happens in Georgia every now and again called Perfect Clear. It is. It's awesome. It's one of my favorites. I unfortunately have not been to it, but I've watched a bit of it. It's a great time. It's a great time. They have Discord chats for all their games: Puzzle Fighter, PPT, Puyo Puyo Champions, Pokemon Puzzle League, which is the Panel to Pawn, but Pokemon. Panel to Pawn is the one, not Yoshi. Panel to Pawn
Yeah,
has Yoshi
panel.
characters in it.
Yeah.
Great. Magical Drop, NES Tetris, and Catherine.
Oh yeah, the yeah,
Yeah.
I
Catherine
Catherine.
Esports also kind of crazy.
They I would say well yeah they all kind of they all there's definitely like a lot of crossover between fighting games and like puzzle games and even
Yeah.
rhythm games. But Catherine in particular because it is kind of the it is like a very like it's even
Yeah.
more so versus than like a Tetris because
Yeah.
like it is more directly like direct competition and like you guys are on the same board essentially
Yeah.
like
You
so yeah
can
I've
you
definitely
can
seen some
directly
Catherine
fuck
in my
somebody
time.
over in real time. Like it's
Oh dude, yeah, the traps or whatever where you
yeah.
just like you literally just block them in and like you just basically teabag on them until
Yeah,
the game kills them. Yeah.
you can Fortnite build in that game
Yeah.
and just fuck over a guy that looks like Persona 5 Joker in a sheep costume. It's
Yep.
man, what a game.
Uh Atlas is a multi-talented company, a multi-talented developer. They somehow made a crazy JRPG and like one of the most beloved multiplayer puzzle games of all time.
Of all time. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's phenomenal. Love them.
Yeah.
I saved this one for
Absolutely.
last because this kind of
Yes.
bleeds into your point.
Okay.
Uh,
Yes,
the
actually.
last and final of the niche esports that I circulate from time to time to time. Speedrunning. I think races in speedrunning are really cool. When they do them at
Yes.
AGDQ, it's a fun time. It's
Yes.
mostly like, bigger games like Celeste and stuff like that,
Yeah.
but watching
Yeah,
yours, that's just
Mario,
cool
yeah.
too. Mario, right? It's a good time when you see a game that you love get broken, and then all the strats and everything, all the practice and drilling that has to go into
Last
learning how to break
GDQ, there
that
was a
game.
Metroid Prime race. Great. Really good.
Yeah.
Loved it.
So, and within itself, right? It's like track and field, right? I don't usually watch track and field throughout the year, but I'll watch it at the Olympics kind of thing. That's me with
Yeah,
speedrunning, right?
totally.
I don't watch a
Yeah.
lot of speedrunning outside of GDQ, but if there's
Yeah,
a
when
if
the big one's on. Yeah.
yeah, what if like I will catch a race, I will, and like sometimes it'll be like a world record race, like that'll be the goal of it, where they like two of them fight for the world record because maybe they've
Yeah,
been
those are cool.
both working at
Yeah,
it for a while.
if they're both very close on like the leaderboard in
Yeah,
times, they set that up sometimes. Yeah.
there's a storyline
Or if they've
for
been
it, like
if they've been trading back and forth for a little while now. Yeah.
that also bleeds into like B hop and surf if we want to like circle back to the point of Quake, right? The movement games.
Mhm.
God, it's fun to watch, and watching surf is just so therapeutic, man. B hop and surf are just a lot of those maps are just really pretty, and if you watch them with like the sound turned down, so you hear like the little like Counter Strike like jump sound, the source jump sound, with some like melodic music in the back. I call it Chinese thinking music because it's like the end of Avatar like Uncle Iroh
Yeah.
scenes
Yeah.
where I don't know the name of the instrument, but it's definitely one of those kinds of like
Yeah.
kind of thing. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
The string things. Yeah.
Yeah, you put one of those
100%.
on in the back, you just watch the dude like fly through a map. Oh man, it's the best. But
You bring up surf. I have a slight question for you that you can answer
yeah,
real fast.
what's up?
Do you think that surfing, like the surf videos you're talking about, the like throw this on and surf videos,
Hmm.
have been tainted by the fact that for years every person who is dropping streamer like drama
Drama.
would put it in front of their surf video and they would like talk about streamer drama and just be like, yeah, I just put on some surfing in the background for you to, look at while I'm talking about like Pokemon's latest fuck up. Uh it's not even my best time, by the way. It's just something in the background. Like
Yeah.
cuz that I have permanently linked those things in like my psyche now for like the rest of the time. Maybe
I
unfairly.
I think you know what I think it kind of helped the surf scene, right? Because of how popular those videos got. People are just like, dude, what are they playing? That looks like so much fun, right?
You're probably right. You're probably right. There are definitely probably people who've never even heard of Counter Strike, and some dude dropping his mostly unfactually like checked
Yeah.
streamer genre on streamer of your choice has surfing on in the background.
Real quick, like every esports channel out there talk about streamer thing real quick. Did you see the Pokemon stuff in Paris?
No,
Where
what?
she went to France, and then like the video of her saying the word from like years ago started circulating on
Oh,
French Twitter, and they started like adding her in it, and she had to like post an apology on Twitter to the French community for it or something like that.
oh my God,
Yeah, it
no!
was
I did
crazy.
not see any of
Yeah.
that. Holy shit! Jesus Christ!
Anyways, speed running. Much this is the same reason that I like puzzle games and a lot of these other ones is just the skill that goes into it, the pixel perfect, literally pixel perfect movements that you have to hit or inputs that you have to hit to get these games to break in just the right way to fling you across a level or teleport you to the end of the game or just
Mhm.
just give you the end screen. You know,
Yeah.
there's what I forgot the name of the game. There's like an NES or like a DOS game or a Commodore, so one of those like super old systems, right? Where to beat the game, you spawn into the level by dropping from the top of the screen. That is how it works. Like the game drops you in. The moment you hit the ground, if you like hit a 2 pixel like dash back, the game ends. You win the game. That's you get the end credits, right? And it's literally it's I say 2 pixel because you have to end on like the second pixel to the end of the platform. So you're standing at the edge of the platform, but it's literally just spinning around when you enter the game and stopping, and it breaks the game. And I think that's hilarious. I think that's great.
Yeah.
There's a lot of
We love
goofiness,
that.
there's a lot of silliness in speedrunning.
Oh
A
yeah.
lot of finding things out to these games from years and years ago, games that we've grown up loving, or games that we've never heard of but want to try now because we watched someone like speedrun and break it.
On a casual level, in my opinion, some of the best speedruns are for games that like you would not imagine how it like speedrunning it is even like a
Yeah.
thing. Like the run from last HDQ that I thought was literally amazing. And it's not even like that short of a run. It's like a 5 hour speed run or whatever. Shenmue. It's so good. It is, granted, it's good for a lot of reasons. It's not just the game. The people who
Mhm.
are running it were also very entertaining and funny. But like,
Yes.
yeah, it's just it was a 10 ass run. It was so good. It was literally amazing.
And watching those, like if you're playing a game, there's a game that's really near and dear to your heart. Like I'll use Mirror's Edge for me. I love Mirror's Edge.
Yeah,
Quintessential 7 out of 10 game. We've talked about this numerous times.
true, real.
Uh, I'll go and just put on a see what they're doing to break the game, because I'm like, what if I want to come back and play this game? What if I want to like improve my times on some of these maps? And instead of
Yeah,
watching like a guide to breaking the speed on these maps, I'll watch a
mm,
speed run. I'm like, how do they get through these time trials?
yeah.
Like what are they doing? Same thing with like Neon White and a lot of these like, kind of speed runny games I'll check out.
Oh yeah,
If you want to know how to cheese a boss in Dark Souls, watch a speed run.
true.
You know?
Yeah,
Like there's different percentages, like different ways to speedrun the game, like 100%, any percent glitchless, all kinds of different formats for it. So it's pretty flexible. There's something in there for kind of everyone to enjoy with speedrunning, and I think the community behind it is just the greater gaming community. Just people don't really see it as the esports potential that it could be. I think that's kind of fine. I don't think we need multi-billion-dollar speedrunning tournaments, right? I
I agree
think
with that.
GDQ is it's like a GDQ is like those charity marathons you see, right? Like the New York
Yes.
Marathon and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I
No
think
one's competing in a GDQ for prize money. It's all,
right.
yeah.
And I think that's good for esports as a
It's a
whole, and that's good
community
for
it's a
just the
community
scene.
showcase. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd say it is a
It's
showcase of the community of speedrunning, not just a
again,
singular game, not just yeah.
it's like the Olympics, right? The Olympics, you're sending your best guys to perform, and you're cheering them on because the love of the sport, love of your country, love of your team, love
It
of the
is
player,
truly for the
whatever it
love of the
is.
game type shit. No,
Yeah.
100%. Cuz even I love it because like yeah, it's just love of the game type shit. Literally like you said, because you got a guy running, and usually the guy running is like, okay, he's really good at this game, and he makes sure oftentimes to load his couch with like, hey, here are the other people that are also insane at this game, and they're gonna talk to you about it because they deserve to be up here too. Like
If you want some good laughs with speedrunning, early GDQ streams when that wasn't the case are also great. Like the infamous,
the bone saw Jack stream and
yeah, the
bone
infamous
saw's
like Zelda
infamously bad
story,
Jack run is so good.
the can you not moment, like
Oh yeah, the Toomba one
fucking
or yeah, Toomba
dude,
one.
I
I think it was
fucking
Toomba.
love
Yeah,
Tama. Those games are
yeah, the
so much
Tama. I would
fun.
say the Thomas run. I would really prefer if you stopped talking.
it's it's
Shit is
so good.
iconic.
Yeah. Oh man. But yeah, God, that game is just what's
I've heard great things about that one. Yeah, PS1
What's the
classic Toomba.
what's that one game? It was like an iOS game where you were like a bird, but you like slid down ramps. Like it was like hills, and you would slide down the hills and like launch
I
off the
don't
next
even
one.
know that one. Yeah,
Oh fuck. Okay, I played the shit out of that one, but that is essentially like a very reductive way to explain Tombow to people.
that's very funny.
But that's kind of how you get around. You just like slide down hills, and then sometimes you have to platform over like a treetop and fight some pigs. Um,
It's like
PS1,
loosely 3D, but not really.
yeah,
Yeah,
2.5D like
yeah.
PS1 game. It's sick. I had the actual like disc for it, and then I also had on a demo disc for some reason, and I think that's
Fuck
that's
yeah.
why we had the full game eventually. It was great.
Fuck
It was a
yeah.
good time.
We love the demo disc.
Yeah, speedrunning. And with
Hell yeah.
speedrunning esports take place as races, and we have probably one of the biggest races in all of esports. Um, the race to world first. And I don't know if you
Yeah.
have anything else you want to put in before that.
So I
But
I don't have anything else I want to put in before that. I do want to ask. I think you did a masterful job covering your bases. But if I had to throw one question your way, related to
yes.
really any of them, you can answer it as much for as many or as little as you see fit.
Mhm.
What do you think is the biggest hurdle if you're a new viewer getting into one of these kinds of things?
Mhm.
And what do you think is the best way to approach that? Like getting
So
over it. As someone who does watch this stuff and is a little more in the know, and like I'm let's say I'm fucking brand new walking into one of these kinds of games. And what do you think is the first problem they're gonna run into, and how do you think is the best way to get through that
so
to
I've
just
made
get into the
I've made
game?
a short list here.
Mhm.
We'll use let's use Quake for an example because I think Quake kind of
Yeah,
encompasses a lot of these, right? And
yeah,
it's the main things I see when I try to get people into playing Quake and into some of these other more niche games, right? A lot of older games
yeah.
too, is visuals is a big one.
Sure.
The game looks old, and a lot of people in this day and age don't want to play a game that looks old. They're not gamers like you and I, or maybe you, the viewer, or maybe you, the viewer, are one of these people that don't want to play a game that looks old.
Sure.
And I get it. I get it. There is a sin with old games where they are clunky. They are from a bygone era where they control poorly. I've played a lot of
And some
shit
games are
PC games.
objectively ugly. I
Yeah,
was to say, as someone who likes old games, sometimes I do think there are ones that are ugly to the point of it turning me off. Like,
yeah. But at the end of the day, right, visuals are a big one. If the game doesn't look
yeah,
pretty, if the game doesn't look appealing, people just don't want to interact with it.
sure.
Um, if we're talking from pure gameplay, uh, like standpoint, I think it needs to be. What are you saying? Like to get
I'm
people
saying
into.
like a viewer. Like what do you I'm not even talking about playing it. I'm talking about like a viewer
Oh,
getting like maybe watching it will get me to play it, right? But
right.
putting that aside, I'm talking about getting in the door as a viewer. What do you think is a challenge that these people run into? Like let's say yeah, maybe I think that's a reasonable challenge to say like, "Hey, this is kind of ugly." And how do you solve that? Can you even?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. Like some of these problems just straight up persist and there's nothing you can do about it. But like
Visuals, unless it gets like a HD remaster or remake or something
right,
like
like
that, you
yeah,
can't
you're
fix,
you're
right?
stuck with it. You can't do anything about it.
That's just what it is. Watchability is
Yeah.
one that I find, and we can maybe rope this into visuals, but I feel like watchability is different. Where
No,
look
same
at
thing. Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. Totally.
look at
I think you're right.
Overwatch, right?
Yes.
Overwatch, fun game to play. Love playing Overwatch. It's great.
Yeah.
Watching professional Overwatch is a
Tough.
fucking nightmare.
No,
It
I
is
totally agree.
it is orbs changing shape on a
Yep.
screen with the player, like with the character portrait inside of it.
I think
I
a lot of FPSs suffer from it straight up, to be
yeah,
honest with you.
I don't
Like
know what's
I
going
think it can
on.
be very tough. Yeah.
A problem that you run into with Quake is that it's very fast and very disorienting. If you jump into a Quake match, like watching it in the middle of the match, you will probably have you don't know who you're watching because the HUD is weird. You don't
Mhm.
know, and third party like bigger stream, bigger tournaments will have like a HUD that will display that, so that fixes it.
Yeah.
But if you're watching just like a YouTube video, like a small like grassroots tournament or stuff from back in the day, just brushing up on your history, like you care about that stuff, then
Yeah.
sure, you might be mad confused as to what's going on, right? Like
Yeah.
you don't know whose colors what, like all that.
Yeah.
Um, Watchability is a big thing. I feel like Counter Strike and Rainbow kind of get around that too if we're talking about shooters because they're slower games, so you have more
Oh,
time to
absolutely. I
kind
think it
of
helps. Yeah.
you have more time to like take it in. Call of Duty kind of does a similar thing because it's right there in the middle of the two, right? You have a lot of like fast paced arcadey gameplay, but
Yeah.
with some of the other modes like search and destroy, um, control like hardpoint, things like that, you have those like stop and breathe moments where you can kind of gather yourself as to what you're seeing, analyze what's going on in the game, and then understand it from that point. So
Yeah.
watchability is
As
a
a
big
as
thing.
a as an Apex watcher, I think that game can massively fall into it, especially when you enter metas with a lot of visual clutter.
Hmm.
In-game circles can be near impossible to decipher, even if you're like
That's
someone who
another.
knows the game, because it's just like, oh, there's just this person's screen is covered in black goop. It's in grayscale because they ran through Catalyst Wall. They're
Yeah,
in three different smokes, and the screen is shaking because they're being Gibraltar alted. Like,
yeah. that and the infamous league meme, right? Where it's like a team fight happening at Dragon Pit, and it's like,
Oh yeah.
explain to me what's happening here, and it's just a bunch of particle effects on your screen. The
That
Valorant,
favorite,
the
I would
Valorant
say
clip.
the Valorant Cadril clip is one of my
Nami
favorite clips of all time.
Ultimate.
That clip is iconic, dude. I feel that shit with my whole heart. Like I really do.
I
Like I
I've been
can't.
like I've been
Bunch of
repeating
fucking
another.
lasers. He's gone. He's dead.
Repeating another Cadril clip that it's not about, it's about Baus, because it appears every now and again. I think it's so funny. He's like giving his teammates, his players, because he's a coach, right?
Yeah.
A rundown like what to play. He's like, Baus, I need you to play Pantheon because Quinn's good right now. Like, I need you to practice Pantheon. He's like, yeah, I got you. Not even a second later, like the call ends, and then he's like, Baus has loaded into a solo queue game and his insta locks on. He's not practicing shit, and then it immediately goes to Baus' stream. He's like, guys, how could I not pick Sion here?
They just won
Yeah, no, they
their
won
regional, yeah.
the champion. They're like, because they're like an academy team or whatever.
They're
the
like
tier two
yeah,
is.
they're in
Yeah, yeah,
ERLs, so
yeah.
regional leagues for Europe, yeah.
Yeah,
But
so
yeah,
they,
they
they
just won
just
their
won
regional
their,
league.
yeah, dude, they were
Sick.
killing it too.
Fucking
They
awesome.
are gnarly.
It's sick, man. That whole story is sick. I don't know if you saw the like I think K-Drill is like a stand-up dude, and
Yeah, no, he's great.
he had the thing where like he was like basically he put out there he's like I'm not gonna tolerate like toxicity in our fan base. And he basically was like, hey, I know it's impossible, but I'm gonna do my damnedest. If I see you going into our opponents fucking our scrim partners like streams or chats and being like, oh fucking Los Ratones owned you, your dog shit, quit the game. He's
Yeah,
like, I'm gonna just cross ban you from everything we have. Like he's like, I'm not
yeah.
gonna put up with it. Like
What a dude, what a guy. That's awesome.
what a guy. No, straight
Drags
up,
me to
what
my
a guy.
third point though. The scene, right? A
Yeah.
lot of people
Mm.
stay away from League specifically. They stay away from a lot of other just esports in general because of, oh, I heard
Oh
this game
yeah,
is
toxic
toxic. I
scenes.
don't want to
Yeah,
get in,
no.
like I don't want to get into it. And you see kind of the opposite with fighting games, right? The barrier for entry of fighting games is people are scared to get like dog walked, waxed,
Yeah,
blended up, right?
yeah,
They don't get put in the mix. But the moment they like kind of dip their toes in the pool, they take that dive, that leap of faith into the scene. They realize it's just a bunch of people getting thrown in the
yeah.
mix too, and talking about how they can get out of it. That is 90% of fighting game interactions. The other 10% is actually playing the game.
Yeah, I want to have an episode that we do at some point talking about like stigmas or pet peeves we have because boy dude I have such a
Straight up.
pet peeve about like league players and they're downplaying on their own fucking game, like preying on the downfall of like literally the game they play. It is
Yeah.
like nonsensical to me, like listening to people who are just like, hey, like I saw this so much during Arcane where people were just like, oh, I kind of want to get into League, and League players are just like, don't fucking do it. This game
Yeah.
sucks ass.
And
It's shut up. What are you
and then
talking
season
about?
two,
Like,
and then season two of Arcane, we talked about this in our Arcane episode.
yeah,
It's fucking, it didn't bring in the players they wanted, and it's because of
yeah,
the community.
yeah, no, straight up,
Well,
it's insane the number of people who will just actively like fucking cape for the death of like this game that they play. I don't get it.
like, I understand MOBAs aren't for everyone. I get that.
Yeah,
There's
100%. It's not a beginner friendly genre. Like,
Yeah,
but like,
and the control scheme and everything about it is based on a very dated way to play games. It's RTS, like at its core,
yeah, collective movement.
which
Yeah.
are essentially dead now, right? Like,
Kind of.
I'm
Yeah,
not going to sugarcoat it.
Yeah.
Like, nobody's watching like IEM, like top level StarCraft. Nobody's watching Warcraft.
I mean, we're just not getting a new game in the genre in how long? Outside
Well,
of
we've got
Civ,
we've
which
got
is totally different. Yeah.
we've got what is it? Stormgate,
But that's
which
not even
is,
like out yet. I was gonna say like Stormgate
yeah,
is like
it's still out in
attempting
like early
to
access.
yeah, I was gonna say like Stormgate is attempting to bring back Warcraft, right? Like
Yeah.
kind of.
Yeah.
Which is cool, but you know, just remains to be seen. Like I
Yeah.
feel like yeah.
The like the Steam charts, the numbers for that, I don't know. Like I haven't paid attention. I keep an eye on
Yeah.
the game because I think it's cool and I like RTSs.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like the MOBA scheme, right? But that's why games like Supervive and Battle Right, things like that kind of appeal to a broader audience. my
Yeah.
buddy Eli. He plays probably the best Morgana I've ever seen. That being said,
Hell yeah.
he hates playing MOBA. He doesn't like the way they control. He much
Yeah.
prefers games with like battle right, like Supervive, where you have WASD movement and your mouse aims. It's more responsive in that
Sure.
sense, right?
Feels more
And
natural. Yeah.
it's easier to just pick up and play from other games because that's the standard control scheme now, right?
Yeah.
So sure, there's a barrier of entry, and because there's a barrier of entry to those games, telling people not to play it and not to learn it only hurts your scene, right?
Yeah.
We have no NA players in like 2 out of 3 of like the top tier esports anymore.
Yep.
Because either burnout or just what the outside of like orgs only doing things in like LA, right?
Yeah.
The communities and everything for the region is like everybody shits on NA. And then the
Yeah.
NA hate goes even deeper because nobody wants to play on NA because they're like, I'm losing because my teammates, I'm playing in NA. I need to go smurf in another region. And
Yep.
then they get
It's a
good.
self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah, they get good in another region and they get picked up by a team in that region and we have no NA talent.
Yep.
So, scene. Scene is important. Don't scare people away from your games if you want to see your games do well, if you care about your games.
True.
Yeah, it's just the way it is.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Things will never be the same. I think it's like the third time I've done that on the show.
You know, we're here for that. I love that. We love
song.
it. It's a good song.
Might be the new intro, I don't know.
So
Just the piano roll.
So, yeah, going back to races and my little niche thing. I got this little event called the Race to World First. And you might be saying, "Oh, you've said Race to World First. Was this a foot race? What is this?" No, my friend, it is in the MMO of MMOs, the ye old faithful, the long-standing World of Warcraft. The Race to World First. It's kind of interesting, right? Because when you think about what the Race to World First, to put it in the most simplest terms for you, is literally.
Yeah.
So in WoW, you have a thing called raids, which are essentially the top level end game content for PvE. In the past, they were 20-man and 40-man raids. In recent WoW history, in the last, I would say, ever since Cataclysm, so over 10 years, I would say, raids have been pretty much exclusively 20-man. 40-mans don't really exist anymore. And
it's
so
hard
it's
getting
basically
people to coordinate at this day.
Yeah, I think they realize
MMOs have
that as well. It's just it's too much of a commitment to get 40 people to raid consistently.
Everyone's playing 14 now. Also, it's
yeah, that's not true anymore. That last expansion did not do.
I was gonna say after Dawn Trail, I don't think.
Yeah, not so much. But yeah, 20. So basically, it is raids are 20-man content. And it's about, getting the raid done. The Race to World First is essentially, the idea is, the thing that sets you apart in PvE in WoW, because WoW obviously has PvP, but the thing that sets you apart in PvE in WoW is usually being the first to do it. Were you the world first? Were you the server first? When it comes to downing a boss, or in modern WoW, we're not going to talk about it too much, but this thing called Mythic Plus, which are like, basically the hardest dungeons in the game, and they're like infinitely scalable, so you can keep going up with higher and higher key levels. So being the first to time a key at a certain difficulty, being the first to kill a boss on your server, or in the world, being obviously the big one. And that's where the concept of the Race to World First comes in. The idea is literally when a raid comes out, when a raid, which is a set of bosses that usually come out, you want to be the first people to down all of those bosses on the hardest difficulty possible. So nowadays that is mythic. You have 3 levels of difficulty for raids: normal, heroic, and mythic. So nowadays it is being the first 20-man raid to down every mythic boss just first. And when I say, usually the thing that matters is what matters, literally, not even usually. is clearing the raid, right? So you'll have guilds that'll take world first on the first 2 to 3 bosses. But the only thing anyone really cares about is who killed 8 of 8 first, or 10 of 10, as was the case in some races.
Right.
But the race to world first is interesting, right? Because it has like a very deep history. And the thing about the race to world first that is interesting is, in theory, it has always existed, which sounds funny to say, but like ever since Vanilla WoW in 2004, I believe Cthulhu is like the first ever raid boss that the game had in it. Um, and in theory, someone had to kill that first. Do we know who that was? No. To be honest with you, I actually think it is like there are like theories back and forth on who was the first to kill Cthulhu. And I believe, if I remember correctly, it took months for someone to actually down Cthulhu because the boss was bugged, or like something like that.
Yep.
But so the race has like always existed, but the race as we see it now is actually a very recent thing. It the race as we know it now is this publicly streamed event that happens where like it's all kind of out there and you see people competing for it in real
Yeah,
time.
they've got like
Is
casters and stuff now to
Oh yeah, yeah.
analyze what different groups are
That
doing.
that shit only started in 2018. Prior to 2018, there were still guilds very much competing for Race to World First. You
Hmm.
had like NA guilds like Blood Legion and like Method and like all of this other stuff who were competing in Cataclysm. They were competing in World of War, like Wrath of the Lich King. They were competing in Mists of Pandaria, like all these expansions. But the thing was, Legion, that was another one.
Yeah.
The thing was, back then it was super secretive. No one
You
streamed it.
yeah.
No one, people
You
would
don't want
literally
people to
log
find out
on.
your tech.
People would literally log on to like their character if they were trying to go for a world first, and they would wear different gear sets so you couldn't check armory to see what they were gearing. The only like world first progress you would get for a raid was literally in like forums, as people would like post kill screenshots or like boss health percentages as they were happening. And you wouldn't know a boss was dead world first until your guild was the first one to post a kill video. And like I said, it was all very hush hush. And basically, Method, an EU guild, kind of changed. I honestly changed things for the better. They sort of changed history with it in Battle for Azeroth. The first raid of Battle for Azeroth was called Udyr, or Uldir. Sorry, Uldir. Udyr is an older raid actually. But yeah, in 2018,
It's also League of
in
Legends
the
champion.
first, yeah, the first raid for Battle for Azeroth in 2018 was a raid called Uldir. And basically, Method, from what I know, from what I've heard, is Method was kind of like undisputed best. It wasn't even really close. That like no guild. Blood Legion had basically the tier before, I think Blood Legion, which was their only competition, collapsed. Like the guild fell apart. And so with Blood Legion kind of gone, they really didn't have competition. So they basically made an announcement on Uldir where they're like, "Hey, we're gonna stream the whole race. We're just gonna stream our boss progression, our raid progression, the whole time. We're gonna stream everything we do, and we're getting a bunch of our raiders together in one location to do it. And they turned it in this whole big event. And combine this idea that like, hey, we are like, everyone's like, oh my god, we're gonna see like raid prog live as it's happening for the first time ever. That's crazy. It kind of became a perfect storm because this out of nowhere, this guild called Limit popped up in the US. And for those who know, Limit is now Liquid. But at the time they were Limit, and they were basically kind of some leftovers from Blood Legion who formed a new guild, and were raiding like more casually. They weren't really going for like world first and stuff, but they were just trying to do very like basic. They were like, we're competitive, but we're not like that competitive. It's like that was kind of the idea. Well, basically, they're basically a switch kind of flipped with them on this Uldir tier, and they were like, what if we tried to like let's just see, right? Like let's just put our all into a tier
Yeah.
and see what happens, right? Like maybe we can compete, maybe we don't.
It's
Um,
just Just see
And
what'll happen.
out of nowhere, uh, they put up like they took world first kills in that raid. There was a really I believe it was, which kill was it? It might have been, or no, that was a much later tier. Basically, they were competing with limit or with method. They were getting very close. They took some world firsts on bosses very late. The second to last boss in that tier was actually Limit's world first kill. Method beat them out on the 8 of 8 though. But it was like out of nowhere, this guild pops up when Method has decided to stream everything and just like gives them an actual run for their money and proves that there's competition out there. And this changed the race to world first historically forever, because suddenly now it's like, oh, there's like an event here, like, like people, like there's a, yeah, there's an actual event happening, like there's something to this, people want to see this live raid prog. And since then we have had
People
every
care
tier
about
of the
like
raid.
the strategy and everything that goes into
Well, it's
developing
a,
this for the
so
raids.
yeah, it's a whole deep process where now suddenly there's like production around it, right? Like
Yeah.
the suddenly it matters, and like people are doing shit. And there's a
Mhm.
lot to this race. I started watching it last year, like in person. And I've kind of like, and this is like my second tier that I've watched like start to finish now, and I have really dived into the history and stuff since then because it's so interesting. And there's a lot of ways this can go, but to structure this a little better, I asked you. I was like, hey, I want to know some of the things that you value in your like esports and like competitive stuff. Just general things,
Yeah.
not just gameplay related. They can be, but I'm talking about like as a whole. I'm talking anything open-ended, viewership experience, gameplay stuff, scene history, whatever you value. Um and tell me those, cuz I have a theory. I have a theory that no matter what you value in an esport, outside of very specific things, I actually think the race to world first has
You
an
will find
equivalent
it in the
for you.
race.
Like
Yeah.
I literally think almost all of it is somewhere in the race to world first when it happens.
No doubt.
Um, so
This
give me your first thing, and I want to
yeah.
just kind of go down the numbers, and I want to see here.
Yeah. This will overlap with some of the things I said earlier of the first question you asked me.
Mhm.
But so I'll just start from the top going down. A scene. I think a scene is very important to an esport, the passion that fans have either for the game itself or just for the community around the game, like events, things like that. Seeing people wanting to put on events, like a lot of fighting game events, TOs
Mhm.
take a lot of pride in setting those up
Yes.
and making sure they happen. I remember, what was it, Big House, when that was canceled because of COVID, was like that was like the Melee 9/11. Like that was
Yeah.
devastating for people,
I mean, yeah. No,
right?
you're. Yeah.
And
So
so scene and
so.
bef- I
Oh,
kind of
wait, go
I
ahead.
think I know what you're gonna say for scene because it's an MMO, right?
Well, I
So
was gonna say I want to let me, like I said, one at a
yeah,
time. Let me address them as we go.
yeah,
Because
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, go.
scene, you're right, huge. And you know what? You know what's cool about the race here,
Mm-hmm.
and this is something that I actually think is insanely unique to this. You won't find a game that interacts like an esport portion of a game that interacts so directly with the live game itself
Right.
as you will in Race to World First. Because so you might think, oh, well, they're doing this Race to World First thing, like whatever. Is it on like a tournament test realm? Is it on like a private thing? Is it on the no? The patch goes live. These guys log into WoW on patch day, the
Mm-hmm.
same server you and I log into, the
Mm-hmm.
same shit, whatever. They are logging in same day, dealing with same day one stuff, and they are, like I said, one, you want to talk about scene? Yes, exactly. These are guilds. Like these are guilds
Yeah.
in World of Warcraft existing in the actual ecosystem that you and I are. We can go on the same server. You can see their guild out there doing shit. They're in the ecosystem.
Yeah.
These orgs are putting on events that are cool. Like I said, they are these multi-day. Sometimes I think the longest tier that we've seen in the post streaming world was um Sepulchre, the first ones, which was a raid back in Shadowlands, so a couple years ago, and that tier lasted, um, I believe that tier lasted. That tier had a heroic week, which is crazy to say. If you include the heroic week or the heroic week, it lasted about a month. If you don't include the
Jeez.
heroic week, it lasted like 3 weeks. Um, it is like a there were some nightmarish bosses.
Yeah.
That tier legitimately like kind of broke and reforged Liquid as a guild. They legitimately like I'm not kidding. Like they made the universal decision. They were all in like Boston or something is where Liquid like rented out the place for them to be. So all of them were
Yeah.
in this place. They
For like a
packed it
month.
in early.
Jeez,
Well,
dude.
they packed it in early because they were there 3 weeks. Their prog wasn't going like fantastic, like, and it just weighed too heavily on them. And they were
Yeah,
just like,
no, I
they literally just like were
can
like,
imagine.
this is just not going great. Like, and they literally like just kind of
Miss our
decided to take.
families.
I would say yeah, and they all just
Like,
left and like they literally threw in the towel. And I believe it's Echo. No, maybe Method. I forget which who won that tier. But like yeah, it was either Echo or Method. And yeah, they kind of won that tier after like Liquid. It was Echo. I looked it up. Yeah, this is post method. This is post method breaking up. So yeah, Echo won that tier because like I said, Liquid literally packed it up. They're like, we just can't. Like it's not good. Like the mental is terrible right now. Like everyone
the
wants to go home, and
morale's
they just like
getting
yeah,
lower. Yeah.
they just gave it up for like a week, I think, where they're just like whatever, and then they came back kind of after everyone had mentally reset to like finish it, and I think they ended up with like world 56 or something, which is like very low for them at the time,
Yeah.
considering they were like easily the number two like competitor guild of that time. Um, but yeah, so like I said, you have these multi-week long events, and that people are putting on productions for. People are there extended lengths of time, commentators and stuff talking about things, talking to the Raiders, stuff like that, the whole nine. Liquid does it out of the Liquid Alienware facility. They've got a bunch of the Raiders there, except for like a select few who stay home, but
Yeah.
they're in there. Their commentators talking about it. They got like Liquid has this really cool thing where they have like a Liquid chef that they hire on whenever the raid's going on who cooks all the Raiders' meals. She has a
Nice.
live stream of her cooking in the Liquid kitchen that you can watch, so you can see what
The
she's making, like
the
as
Team
she's
Liquid
making them.
test kitchen.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you could see her name's like Chef Heidi LA on Twitch, and you could see her cooking up just like whatever the Raiders are eating for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, like as it's happening. Um, and like I said, these productions go till the race stops, like until Liquid kills the last boss, and like you don't know. Sometimes the tier is solved in 2 days. Sometimes it's solved in a month. Like you really don't know going in. Um, but like I said, the interesting thing is it's live patch. This is not like test realm shit. This is not and there's a kind of modern philosophy, and it's probably the most boring part of the race, but it is like kind of necessary if you want to be a guild who actually wants to be competitive. It's a thing called splits. So the idea of splits is you take your raid, because basically right now in the competitive race to world first, you have three major guilds, and I think most people will tell you two of those guilds have a chance to actually win world first, and the other one's good, but just not quite there yet.
Right.
Um, Basically, you have Liquid. You have Echo, who is the EU equivalent. Who is an EU guild, just as good. And then you have another EU guild called Method. And Method is kind of a distant third. They were the old guild who was on top. I believe there's some guild drama. Guild broke up. Basically, a bunch of people that left Method because of Method drama formed Echo and basically became the de facto new best EU guild. And then Method kind of reformed under new leadership and is now kind of the second best EU guild, probably third guild in the world by a decent margin, right? Um, so when Liquid and Echo and all these guys log in on day one of a patch,
Yeah.
obviously, some patches
Do
it's
they
very rare.
coordinate login times at least? Like, do they give each other like
Oh,
a, or
oh,
is it
so
just
no,
whenever you get
that's an
on?
interesting thing. Like I said, we're playing live patch. So
Yeah.
usually what that means is NA goes live about 7 hours before EU. It's been getting less and less as races go on. I believe this time it
Right.
was 6 hours because day one maintenance got delayed by an hour. So NA servers didn't even go up for till 6 hours before EU. So
Hmm.
usually you're looking at like a 6 to 7 hour delay, or like head start, if you will. Which if you whatever, we're not afraid to show bias around here. EU loves to cope and talk whenever they fucking lose a race that like, oh, the gap. It doesn't do anything. Like it literally almost, if you look at it realistically,
if anything, they have more info
matters
when they start, so they should
and
be able to get through those sections easier.
That is what NA talks about all the time.
Yeah.
And like Liquid talks about all the time is they're like, bro, we're having to like solo solve these boss mechanics, and then EU gets to fucking wake up and just look at our prog for like, we prog on a boss 6 hours, and they're just like, oh yeah, we don't have to try that anymore because Liquid tried that and it was dog shit, so don't even bother wasting pulls on that. Like literally, like we're formulating strats. Like we don't ever get to fucking copy their homework ever. Like
their strats are our strats.
And shit like that, right? There's a really good example of it this tier right now. This tier, like I said, is shaping up to be really interesting because it's I think a lot of people, basically the fourth boss in the raid is turned into a wall that no one expected. He's really putting up a fight, and no one knows what that means for the rest of the tier. But like this fight has gotten kind of wild, where basically Liquid walked into it. They kind of expected it to fall over, and it wasn't falling over, and they had to try. Basically, their early strat was they ran 3 tanks and I think 3 tanks, 4 healers, or something like that. Basically, a super safe strat that you run to be like, okay, as long as we play the long game, we can out heal. As long as we don't fuck up and die to one-shot mechanics, this comp is safe and will out heal. What this comp loses to is it is a boss enrage timer, which is basically something that you'll see in raid bosses where, hey, if 10 minutes go by and this boss isn't dead, suddenly it starts doing double damage, triple damage, whatever. And it's basically the dev way of saying you have a time limit on this boss without just auto killing you, right? There's what are called soft enrages and hard enrages. A soft enrage is like, it gets double damage and basically makes it so that you have to speed up and kill him before he kills you. And there are hard enrages, which are literally like, we have hit 14 minutes, this boss nukes the room, everyone dies. There's no way around it. You just have to beat him before a hard enrage. Sometimes bosses have both. But that strat, this like very safe, like just armor through mechanics, heal through mechanics shit works great unless a boss has like an enrage. And when they're walking in, they're like, we don't know. We have no idea if this boss has an enrage or not. So we try the safe strat first. Basically, they try the safe strat, they get some prog on it. They're getting to the end, they get like a pretty low percent, 20% kill, but it's going a little long. Suddenly the boss enrages. They lose to it, fine, whatever. They kind of knew that was coming. But then they're like, okay, well, now we know the boss has an enrage and we know where it's at. Let's reformulate the comp because this comp doesn't have enough damage. We need more damage to get around the enrage. Echo gets to wake up the next morning and go like, you can't 3 tank, 3 heal it because it has an enrage. They just know that now. They don't even have to waste the time on the safe strat because Liquid did it for them. Like 7-hour gap my ass. Fucking, but yeah, so
they can play catch up and
basically, to get back to the community thing that's interesting is you run this thing called splits if you're a good guild, because basically, especially if there's no heroic week, your characters need gear to enter mythic difficulty, because you just simply do not have enough gear. Like, you will get fucking obliterated, right? So you've got to run some shit. Usually that means running the new raid on normal and heroic to get the normal and heroic version of the gear, and then take that into mythic. Most of the good guilds are running a 30-man roster for a 20-man raid, basically because it gives them flexibility in comp.
So about how long does it take for them to like solve the raid, and then is world first for each of those tiers, or is it just whoever finishes it the first time?
No one, like, sure, no one really cares. Like, basically people care about the hardest difficulty, right? So people care about mythic raid being cleared. Sure, you get like people will give you props for killing, first heroic, first normal, whatever. There are server achievements for that and shit. But realistically, we're talking about killing the hardest difficulty first. So that's mythic every time.
Okay.
But naturally, to even get into mythic, to start progressing mythic, you're going to have to clear the other two just for the sake of gear.
Yeah. And
the thing about the gearing is, like I said, these guys are running usually 30-man rosters for 20-man raid comps, basically to give them comp flexibility based on bosses, because different
Hmm.
bosses can require different classes, tuning matters, stuff like that. Um, and the crazy thing is the race has gotten so absurd right now that pretty much 90% of the people on those rosters, so 30 each of those 30 players is probably maintaining somewhere between 10 to 15 characters per person that all need gear.
That is actually nonsense.
Yeah, no, it's getting absurd. Like they all talk about how like it is the number of characters is getting absurd, and it's like this weird like arms race because basically if another guild decides, well, we're gonna add 3 more characters this tier, you by proxy now have to do it just because like they're doing it. So it's like this cold war of like who adds more, and like there's like a Max was talking about. He's like there will be a tipping point where people just don't want to do it, and then we can't do it anymore. But I think every guild, if they think it'll benefit them, will try to push it further and add more characters. Um, so you're like, how do you fucking efficiently gear that? Well, one, you kind of can't. But the easiest way to do it is you take the fact that you have multiple good raiders, you split them into groups of like 5, or 10, and you do what are called splits, where it's like, okay, so like Liquid was doing normal splits for the raid, where basically they split their entire raid roster into 5 separate raids, and they filled them with normal people on the server. Basically, the way that they would do it is, and this is how Echo does it, this is how anyone would do it, is you go, hey, we are sending our raiders out. We're building raids for normal difficulty. They literally are announcing on the stream, they're like, look for Liquid and Group Finder, join up. We are paying you X amount of gold to join us on this run. And basically, you are passing on all gear. We are giving you gold to help us run this to get gear, and you are giving up any gear dropped in the raid. You will get no loot, but you're getting this absurd amount of gold
Yeah.
to like start your season. And they run that shit for days. I think this tier, both teams did 4 days of splits first between normal and heroic. What? That's the most community ass shit. Like, how do you get more community? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, they're bringing in people on the server to help gear for the raid. Like,
Liquid can't keep them all on a payroll, so like you've got to do what you got to do.
well, and I'm saying like that is a community error because, like you said, it's just like, well, where are they getting the
Yeah,
gold from? That's what they're doing between raids. Like, because
yeah,
that's the thing is, Race to World First happens once or twice a year, straight up. This is not a monthly event. This is not a
right,
quarterly event. It happens once or twice a year, depending on expansion.
right.
Usually,
There could be even like a
so
2-year gap between it because expansion's not out.
sometimes, yeah.
Yeah,
If it's like a weird thing, yeah. Sometimes you can go even longer. And that's the thing is, so what is Liquid doing between, the guild doing between one tier and the next? Well, they're farming their tier, but they're also building up gold, things
yeah.
like that for when the next race comes around. Guess what? We have this stockpile of gold that we are going to shell out in order to get our splits done efficiently by bringing in normal ass you and me's on the server who have enough gear to raid. And like, yeah, like that, like I said, it's what other game interacts with its live game so to a T, dude, to like a literal, like they're doing it as it's happening on live server. This is not like some test realm. This is not some shit like that. Like you have multiple instances in the race where these people are like, it is like the most cutting edge shit. Like it is down to earth. It is in there. Like it is at the local ass level. And
Yeah.
like that is the
The real
most
nitty
scene
gritty
you
of
can
it.
get. I would say like that is the most scene you can get. There's no separation. There's literally no separation between where the race is happening and like you, like the average guy, like playing on the same server. Like it's literally happening alongside you and I right now if we're logged in. Like, and yeah, but yeah. So that's my first. Give me the next thing.
All right, next on the list. Uh, these are in no particular order, by the way. So the next
Sure. Yeah.
one
Yeah.
is the gameplay.
Okay.
All right.
Are you talking like execution? Like what do you like to you like
So
execution hard? Or do you just like to see cool
in
gameplay or like what?
in games, personally, the ones I have for my examples are like we talked about before with like Quake movement, Tetris strategy, or
Okay.
the characters in like MOBAs and fighting games where you just
Right.
pick a character and press buttons. I love hitting buttons. If I can hit buttons, I'm there.
Okay. Sure. So, strategy is a great one you bring up, right?
Yeah.
When we were talking about Race to World first, we were talking about mythic difficulty bosses. Uh, yes, a lot of people are like, oh, it's PvE. You know, this isn't player versus player. I would argue it is in a disconnected sense because, like you said, it's
Yeah.
a race. Like they literally have
It's
opponents that are
asymmetric
trying
in
to.
its
Yeah, exactly.
PvP.
Like they
Yeah.
are competing. And it is like against people. But yes, like you said, it's asymmetric. These bosses, uh, and bosses vary. Some bosses fall over. You know, there are bosses that at the beginning of raids that fall over. Usually the first 2 to 3. Last tier, it was the first 4. Liquid one-shotted all of them. The first 4 bosses, and then hit a big wall on the 5th boss. And they keep joking about. Max keeps making jokes about how Blizzard must have been really offended when they took down Rashnan, the 4th boss, in one pull, because now the 4th boss of this raid is like absurdly hard. So like they just decided like, all right, well, we're never letting them do that again. But uh, these bosses, they are they are puzzles, right? In some sense, you are having to solve mechanics on the fly, and they are execution tests on top of that. You have to keep up with so many moving parts constantly. The fight right now that is giving people problems is a guy named Styx Bunk Junker. Um,
Sticks
he's a goblin.
Bunk Junker.
Styx Bunk
I
Junker.
would have guessed
Yeah.
that's a goblin.
Yeah, no, the theming on this raid, 10 out of 10. It's so good. It's basically like you are invading a goblin casino. It's called the Galagio.
That bleeds into my next point, so we can rope those in
Okay.
together with visuals.
Oh yeah, so
Yeah.
I'll get in on that in a minute, but yeah, so like Styx Bunk Junker, right? He is this big old the big thing he does is he has a mechanic where he's like a goblin in a mech suit who like cleans trash, I guess is like his thing. But one of his mechanics is you fight him in like a junkyard.
Yeah.
He summons a bunch of piles of garbage, and then he will pick 3 people from the raid, and he will put them on balls of trash. And you have to Katamari Damacy roll over small trash piles to get your ball big enough to roll over medium trash piles to then get it to big, and then you have to run the ball, the big ball, into bombs. He spawns like 1 or 2 or 3 bombs that have timers, and you have to run the big trash ball into the bomb to stop them from going off. And then whatever remaining trash balls you have, you can run into the boss for damage, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like this works on this is a strat, like from a strat standpoint and a mechanical execution standpoint, it works on 2 levels, right? Because now you need to coordinate, okay, how do we set up trash efficiency so people are picking up garbage in a way that they aren't cutting other people up from getting the ball size? Because if any on Mythic, right, any one of those big bombs goes off, your raid's fucked. Like straight up, it's not healable. You're not getting around it. It's fucking over. You're wiping. You're going next. To make it harder on Mythic, these little ads spawn when he does the thing called bomb bots, where there are these little crabs that are like they're dug into the ground. The people who are not on the balls have to dig they have to go up to the crabs, click them to dig them out of the ground, and then group them up and kill them before they explode. And the thing that's fucked up is if the ball runs over one of the crab insta explodes, dealing a bunch of damage to the raid.
And I assume it like chain reactions the other ones too if there's more open.
Well, the thing is, so if any one of those crabs goes off, basically from it not only goes off dealing raid-wide damage, it then adds a dot to everyone it hits that will tick for additional damage. Basically, if 2 crabs go off, your raid is also fucked. So you have to kill all of the little crabs before they explode, deal with all of the bombs before they explode, and then meanwhile you're dealing with like normal boss shit on top of this, right? And they've had to come up with like they call them traffic rules is the joke they're using right now. Because they were running into this problem. So there's a class in World of Warcraft called Death Knight that has a thing called Death Grip. And it's really great for managing ads because basically you pick an ad, the Death Knight force grabs it like and sucks it into it, right? So it's really great for grouping shit together. They're running into this problem where basically they were like, they decided early on, we can't actually, you need to come at the boss from this angle of the arena, because they were having balls that were just doing their normal thing, picking up trash in a clear road. A DK would grip a crab to try to group them up to AoE them down, and the ball would hit the crab. Okay, we're back. Just like the crabs exploded and wiped the raid, it wiped our recording, but we're fine. Um, so yes, like I said, basically to sum it up, to do these raids at the level that they are doing them, with the level of gear that they have, which is essentially minimums. Like, we're talking about, like, literally they're hitting the gear minimum to take this shit on, because you have to for, like, time and efficiency
You
sake.
need the raid gear that's
you can't
best gear in
you
the
can't
game at
farm
the
this
point.
shit for like 3 weeks. The raid will be over, right? So like you need to just take what is the bare minimum to not get fucking auto killed, and like make it happen. So not only do these guys need to be mechanically proficient at playing their class enough to move and like dodge and like handle boss mechanics, but they need to do it while maintaining as much damage uptime as possible to make sure the boss dies when it needs to die. So
Just
it is both
constant
the
DPS.
puzzle solving aspect. Yeah, it is both the puzzle solving aspect, like you said, of like a strategy of Tetris, of like solving these setups and these lineups and things like that, and also executing on them. The APM, the making sure our cooldowns are being hit when they need to be hit, making sure healers are making sure the raid is topped off from damage, and like lining up when the cooldowns are, coordinating amongst 20 people where cooldowns are dropping, who's doing what, who's kicking this to stop that, when, how are we doing that, who's being chosen to do what.
Yeah.
It is
what task is being relegated to who?
Yeah, it is such a multifaceted and on the fly changing, right? Like, not every mechanic is like, you can't just be like, all right, well, player X, Y, and Z are going to do this mechanic every time. Like the ball mechanic, right? It just chooses 3 random people every time. So there's no way to be like, oh, Timmy, Jimmy, and Johnny are our ball guys, so they'll just learn the ball every time. No, whoever gets the ball's got to do the ball when the ball shows up. Period.
Yeah.
Can't game that system. Everyone's got to do it. So yeah, strategy, gameplay, it's there, baby. It's hard. It's there. It's interesting, and it looks like you said. So you said the next one was style, right?
Visuals, but that counts. Yeah.
Visuals, yeah. So visuals, right? All of this happening, it generally, like, the WoW aesthetic, I mean, it's not like, it's not super HD, it's not going to blow your mind, but I actually think they've always had a great, like, fantasy aesthetic, in my opinion.
That RunePunk kind of, like...
Yeah, it goes between RunePunk
technology
to, like...
and high fantasy.
Yeah. And the thing is, it's always
a little
very...
bit of steampunk sprinkled in there with the goblins.
Well, WoW is always very, like... Especially with raids, right? They're very thematic because, like, they're telling part of the story. They're usually the capstones to the story stuff. So like each raid gets its own flavor based on the story they're telling and like the look of the thing, right? So like the previous tier was Nerubar Palace, which if you don't know the Nerubians in WoW, they're like undead spider people that have kind of this like scarab like Egyptian-esque aesthetic.
They're like Driders from D&D.
Yeah. And the thing with like the Nerubar Palace was like, obviously you were trying to kill like this queen, this Nerubian queen or whatever. So yeah, the whole raid was very like kind of scarab Egypt-y kind of theme with like the bug aesthetic, so like all these like pincers and spider stuff everywhere or whatever. So mileage may vary on style depending on what you're into, but I guarantee you every person there's been a WoW raid somewhere that has appealed to your fantasy style. And the current one, the tier we're on right now, Liberation of Undermine, to me is like, ooh, the theming on this one, bro, 10 out of fucking 10. So obviously it's goblin themed. It's the home city of Undermine, which is like where the goblins like come from in lore. And like you were saying, the goblins are very steampunky, or like I refer to it like sludge punk, right? Because it's a lot like messier and grosser.
Yeah.
It's not very clean. Everything's like kind of jank and like sparking and on fire all the time. So there's this city called Undermine, and there's a guy named Gallywix who is this fat like goblin. He's the trade king.
Gallywix.
He's like he's the king of the goblins. This is Gallywix.
Very pirate type name.
Yeah, Chrome King Gallywix. But basically That's
from
that's
Florida.
his like title. Yeah.
That is a Floridian.
If you looked at him, he looks like a Floridian too.
Yeah. Does he have
But
wicks?
yeah, no, he does smoke a cigar though.
Black and mild.
Yeah. So he runs Undermine, this goblin city,
Yeah.
from a fucking goblin casino called the Galagio. All right, like, um,
Much like
and
the Bellagio.
right, yeah, it's all
Yeah.
they everything themed around it is fucking awesome, dude. Like that, like I said, there's the Galagio. When you zone into the raid, you go into the Galagio lobby, and there's a thing that they've included in WoW for a while now called the Renown track, which is basically like as you do things in the raid, you get like this like building bar that like gives you rewards as time goes on. And the whole idea is it's supposed to, even if you're not like clearing the raid, you're getting things for progressing on it, and thus it makes further progression easier, right?
Right.
Um, your world first get your world first guilds don't get to take advantage of it as much, because like you're just doing it so quickly, but like your standard progression guild does. Um, the renown track on this one is called the Galagio rewards card, so like you upgrade like your rewards card as time goes on to get new perks. Um, and like yeah, all of the bosses are like these like so you start outside of the Galagio and you're in this like little city area. So the first you fight her name is Vexy and the Gear Grinders. It's like a Mad Max. She has like a Mad Max tank and a bunch of like goblin biker dudes, and you got to fight her outside of the Galagio. She does this sick ass thing when you start the fight where she like comes out of nowhere and she drifts her big ass tank into the fucking arena. And like if you're standing in the way, you just get fucking obliterated and insta die like when she enters. Um, and yeah, so you got that, and then after that, you kind of go into the little city outside the Galagio, and you fight like there's a fight called Rick Reverb, who's he comes out in like this floating amp, and he's like I'm Rick Reverb, and
That's awesome.
he has moves like
I
the
love that.
Sound Cloud and like shit like that. Um, and then you've got they had like Cauldron of Carnage, which is like a it's supposed to be like an outdoor arena in front of the Galagio where they have a take on Godzilla versus King Kong, where it's a mecha monkey and a mecha dinosaur, and you have to fight both of them while they fight each other inside of this arena. But yeah, and then eventually you break into the Galagio and like you're kind of going through this thing to fight like Gallywix at the center of it and all this shit.
Right.
Um, the point is like yeah, the aesthetics are there and they always hit. They're really great at theming. This is one of the sickest themed raids they've ever done in my opinion. Like all of the theming is on fucking point and it hits. So yeah, if you want visuals, the visuals are there. The spell effects and stuff are crazy. Some people might hate it because there's just like a lot of spell effects on screen at any given time. But like yeah, I think visually it actually does look very good. A lot of the fights look cool and look fun and look interesting and kind of bullet helly, and that kind of adds to it on Mythic. But yeah, visuals, we got them. We got them. What's your next one? Or was that the last one?
No, I've got a few more.
Keep it going.
Um,
Yeah, keep it going.
we can probably combine these two because this comes
Sure.
from one comes from the other, but both equally as important in their own rights, and it's moments and watchability.
Ah, okay.
Right.
This is great. No, I love this, right? Moments and watchability, right?
Yeah.
I think moments, obviously, there's a lot because moments happen in the race in really interesting ways. And one, I think it's helped by what I was talking about before. You have to remember, this is not a league. This is not a seasonal thing. This is not, you know, this happens once or twice a year. So it's rare, you know. The moments are rare because they are not happening all the time. I feel like it's hard to get used to race moments because you don't see them all the time, you know, straight
Yeah.
up. Um, and
It is
yeah,
a
there are
annual
moments.
event if that, and
Yeah,
those
if
moments
that.
mean more because they don't happen as frequently.
And like I said, there are moments as I have kind of steeped myself in the history of the race. It has moments, bad and good, and I think that's good for like enriching the history of your event, right? Um, like I said, you're dealing with these guys are dealing with the cutting edge content of the game, literally. Like Blizzard and the race have a weird relationship because sometimes, and this has happened multiple times throughout the race, where Blizzard has put out a boss, because the only thing that really happens prior to this is these guilds will do like mythic testing on PTR. Uh, and the thing about that is they usually test them, and like their Blizzard gets a little bit of feedback from the guilds just to try to keep everything in line. They never show them the last mythic boss, so they always have to go into that one blind. And there's always usually big changes between the boss on release and the boss that was tested, right?
Right.
And like there have been times in the race where people, Liquid or guilds have walked into a boss and have been progging on it, and literally they're sitting there, and after a day or two of prog, they're just going, "Oh yeah, this boss is mathematically impossible. Like literally, it's not killable in the state that it's in." And Blizzard has to like live nerf it, and like those have created some very controversial moments in the race where Liquid will prog on something for a fucking day because of the 7 hour gap, and then like it'll just get nerfed, and it'll. So there was a big one called like Queen Ashara was like a big one for the I believe that was, I think that was a BFA tier. I forget which Eternal Palace was the name of the raid. It was back in BFA, and that one was really controversial because basically every method, I think method was the one. Yeah, it was method and limit. Liquid back when they were limit got onto Queen Ashara at the same time. And basically, both of them very quickly realized this boss is unkillable. Like it can't die in its current state. And they were on it for a hot minute, like multiple days. That race ran up to Christmas Eve, I believe. And then on Christmas Eve, while Limit was still sleeping because it was early morning in the US, Blizzard just hot nerfed the boss. And the moment it got nerfed, it fell over and died from Method. So Limit just woke up to, oh, the boss was nerfed and it's dead, and you are now second. Like just like that. And that is kind of the dramatic nature, and sort of what I would call like the good television nature of the Race to World First is it's live and it's organic and it's happening, and you run into shit like that where bosses will be unkillable. There was another good example of that, whatchamacallit. So last tier, a tier I watched in person, there was a boss called Nexus Princess Kaiveza. And this boss, they started doing it, and it was very quickly, they were realizing, like, basically that boss had what we call, like I said, a hardened rage, where it's like, if this boss is not dead by X time, this raid is fucked, and everyone is dying.
You need to wipe, and then...
They were progging on it, and as time was going on, that boss died in a couple hundred pulls. I forget how many before Limit took it down, but it was a couple hundred pulls. Which is absurd, by the way. Like to really, like, once you're entering over 100 pull territory, it's getting to wild boss territory at that point. And Nexus Prince Kaiveza wasn't even, she was the second to last boss of the raid. To give you some context, Nerebar Palace last year right now is considered probably the hardest raid in like Mythic history. And Nexus Princess Kaiveza was a thing where they were progging on that boss for, like I said, a couple days, and a lot of people were literally the casters were talking about, they're like, this boss, like, I don't think this boss is doable. Like I do think, like, they will start debating, like, does Blizzard need to step in here? Is this boss nerfable? And most of the cast was under the impression, the casters were under the impression, they're like, yeah, Nexus Princess, you can't output the damage needed to kill her. She's just too, she just has too much health. And like, based on mechanics, it's not doable.
Before the hard...
Yes, exactly. Like you exactly. Before the hardened rage kicks in, you just can't do the damage necessary.
Almost like engage.
Hardened rage.
Hardened rage.
Yeah. And so the thing was, and people were running, because you can run like sims, right? And you know, damage sims to like simulate numbers or whatever.
Yeah.
People were saying damage sims were saying like, yeah, this fight isn't mathematically possible. It's not possible. Like, you can't sim this shit. Like, it just doesn't work. Sims are not always accurate, by the way. It doesn't account for a lot of things.
We've got a 3.3 repeating.
Of course.
That's better than what we usually get.
Yeah. So, yeah, you can run damage sims to be like, okay, this is what simulated damage look like on this boss, right? And like I said, they're not entirely accurate. They don't account for, there are things you can do to, like, kind of better optimize and, like, shit like that, right? But damage sims are saying this fight's impossible. Casters are looking at it on paper and saying this fight is impossible. Blizzard needs to nerf this. When are we going to see the nerf? And that's the thing, is it becomes awkward territory because it's like Blizzard knows if a boss needs to be nerfed, the longer they take to nerf it, the worse the situation gets because you're deliberately wasting the person in front's time, right?
Yeah.
Whoever has first, their time is actively being wasted if the boss goes unnerfed. So they have to play it very carefully on when they press the nuclear button on nerfing stuff. And they were holding fast. Turns out that was for the right reasons because Liquid come up with this strat where they're like, we're going to one tank the boss with like this crazy like res strat where they basically went to one tank, I think like 3 healers and all DPS.
You sack
and they
your
would
tank
basically
to just keep bringing it back?
They would just kill the fucking tank off, B-res it, and then like keep running it like that. Like, and it was a super like I said, basically the boss ended up getting nerfed right after the race kind of got past it because like that strat was bullshit and no person in their right mind would ever, like no normal guild would ever be able
Nobody
to
would ever think of something like that. Yeah.
And even if you did, it was so fucking hard. Like you were literally playing on a knife's edge. If anyone else died too, it was like, all right, well, we don't have enough reses for the tank, so it's over. Wipe.
Yeah.
Like
we don't have enough damage to actually kill this boss. Like it's
no,
fucked.
yeah.
Game's over.
And through this strat, they fucking kill Nexus Princess, which is a huge moment in the race. Because not only are they because they were the first ones to down Nexus Princess, and because they killed it with her current tuning, Blizzard now can no longer nerf it for other guilds because it's literally unfair at that point. So they're like, we have bought ourselves who knows how many pulls of time on the next 2 bosses because like now Echo is forced into fighting Nexus Princess as it is. They cannot nerf it. Like
so they can nerf it afterwards, right?
Right. But once they see that the race has kind of progressed beyond the boss and like then they can be like, all right, we can tune it down because the race has moved past her. They don't care about her anymore. They've figured it out. But as long as like the first 2 or 3 guilds that are competing on this boss are in that area, they can't nerf it because someone beat it, proving it's beatable. And because they beat it as is, you literally can't nerf it because then essentially you are like showing favor to other guilds at that point, right?
Right.
So like they locked
it's bad optics.
Right. They locked Nexus Princess into a fucked up difficulty for other guilds by coming up with a crazy one tank res strat to kill it. Like and like that's and like I said, the moments you can see it, I recommend if you just want to see some hype shit, like Liquid posts, all the guilds do, they post their kill videos, especially the world first ones. Yeah. You can see these dudes pop off on world first kills. Everyone in the facility is jumping out of their chairs. The Liquid facility is like, it's a big facility and it's 20 people, right? So they're kind of separated across a couple different rooms.
Are they all in the one facility or are they in like the international ones as well?
So no. So most of the raid, so like we're talking probably 20 or more raiders, a couple of analysts, people like that, Max, who's their raid leader.
I would say like some of the like party raid leader, like I assume they break up into like smaller groups to like divisions that they have for each other just to kind of manage everything.
Well, so like
and then there's like one guy that like, they report back to.
It's a dude, when I tell you this shit is as close to like a traditional sports team you'll get to in esports, it really is because you're dealing with like a team of like I said, 30 raiders, a couple of analysts, and like strategy people, and like a weak auras guy who's just like your tech dude, like doing weak auras in the background. Which I'm not even gonna get started on weak auras, because that's a whole unique WoW thing. But like
that's the add-on with all the boss mechanic shit. Yeah.
And like, so Liquid, they are kind of famous for, as Limit Max, the raid leader, and like the head of the guild, he kind of pioneered what is called the 21st man strat, which is basically your raid leader is actually not in the raid. He is looking at the raid from an outside perspective and raid leading from outside. Echo and Method both now do this too because they realize like actually this is great. Like having someone who can raid lead while not being forced to also do a bunch of fucking hard mechanics and shit at the same time.
It frees up their brain to do other things and calculations.
To just actively problem solve. Yeah. Like so Yeah, Max is like raid leading, and then but yeah, they have them scattered across a couple of rooms in the LA facility, and then a couple people play from like home, basically some of their like European guild members and stuff.
Yeah.
But a vast majority of the people are in the facility. But like I said, because it's 20 people, they're obviously scattered across a couple different rooms because you can't have that many fucking computers in like one place. Um, Seeing when they get that world first kill, dude, watching guys jump out of their seats, they're pouring out of different rooms to all just fucking dap up like in random parts of the facility. It's just sick. Like it's just fucking like
My
you'll watch
conference
Max
room
like run out of yeah, he like runs out of the office. He runs into this one little side room that's got like 4 of the healers in it, and like he daps up the healers. Then he runs into the pro lab, which has like a bunch of other people. And he's dapping up people there. The pro lab is already big, like full huddle, like dapping up. Like it's just sick, man. It's yes, the moments
Awesome.
are absolutely there. The moments are fucking dope, and it's yeah, there is no shortage of it. Like I said, because of the rarity, you don't just get it all the time. Like it's great. Watchability. So that is one thing where it's like, well, fuck, dude, I'm gonna watch these guys pull a boss 100 times, 200 times sometimes. The vibes, I can't speak for Echo because like I haven't really watched. I've watched them a little bit, and I haven't really watched my. I've mostly watched the perspective of Liquid and their broadcast. But at the very least, the vibes on the Liquid broadcast, 10 out of 10, dude. Those guys are all very funny. Like they have just like great vibes while playing the game. Like they one of my favorite, like they'll just tell each other, it's become like my new favorite thing is whenever someone like their like go-to phrase just when they're like fucking with each other is just like, oh, go blow up. They'll just say that all the time, where
Go
they'll just be
blow up.
like, someone will be like, oh, hey, healer, like they'll make fun of like a spec or something, and they'll be like, oh yeah, okay, Max, can you tell our tag to go blow up, please, thank you. Like and just like shit like that, and like they're all just very funny. The constant broadcast, like I said, they're doing 12, 14-hour raid days. Like the stream is going the whole time.
Yeah.
And like they're talking to each other. The casters are talking. The casters are all very entertaining too. They're good at like relaying what's happening and kind of the idea of the game and stuff. Um, and like you get some funny moments. Like there's a lot of good ones. Their names are all fucking ridiculous. Max was be one of their healers, Tobo. His main for this tier, because basically once they do all the splits, you get enough gear to decide like, okay, this character is our main. Like he is going to probably be in most of the fights, right?
Right.
Um, his main this tier is named Peter Grifton, and Max was like, "Do you know how fucked up it is that I have to call Peter Grifton now for the rest of the tier?" Like he's like, "I have to be like Peter Grifton, do this mechanic. Peter Grifton, pop PI." He's like, "I hate it. I'm pissed." Like, um,
Dude,
so
that's
like you get
great.
shit like that. You get like there was a really great listen-in where the Raiders where they were basically the caster desk was cutting to a listen. They're like, all right, let's get a listen-in on the Liquid Raiders. And obviously their POV is a little more candid, a little more classic gamer, right? A little more F-bombs and shits and fucks here and there. Um, but it was just funny because they cut to them. They're like, let's get a listen in, and they cut to them. The moment they cut to them, it is one of the Raiders Atlas, and it hard cuts to him just going, yeah, we're on this side of the arena getting fucked in the corner. And it's just like it's just shit like that I
Dude.
think does really add just the watchability of it all. Like I said, it's just the high moments are high, but the lows are good because it's just fun, entertaining vibes. It's dudes, the dudes are they're try hard raiding, but it does have that raid night fun feel where people are making jokes between pulls. They're talking
Yeah.
shit. They're talking about like shit like that. Like fucking um the another one they have going on a lot is like whenever they want like someone to stop wiping to a certain mechanic or they're trying to get around a mechanic, Max just goes, yeah, that's banned. We're done doing whatever just happened there. That's banned. We're done
That's
doing
bad.
that for the rest of the raid. He's like, I don't care. He had one last year that I remember was very funny where they were trying to get around. It was like a web blade mechanic or something that Ansrek did, and he's like, I don't care if you fall off the arena and suicide and die. I will be more pissed of you dying to web blades than that. Do not die to this anymore. Like, like because he was just trying to get through the mechanic through everyone's head. Where he's like, we need to. This is what we're focusing on. Stop dying to this. We'll figure out everything else in the meantime, but this is our focus. And he was just like, yeah. He's like, I don't care if you suicide and take half the raid with you. Don't die to that. Like, uh, and yeah, So watchability, the moments, yes, 100 p, it's all there.
Yeah. I'm into
Wait, I was saying, what else?
yeah.
You got anything else?
That was like my top five. I mean,
Okay.
if we wanna take it a little bit further,
If you got any other questions or anything you want to throw at me about it, sure, I'm down. Like I said, I think this shit, like the reason I am so high on it and I'm pitching so much is, like I said, I don't think you can find it. Like, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. To this
yeah, no, like
degree, like I don't
there's
think you
not
can
a
find this
vibe
anywhere
similar.
else. Like, yeah, like I literally don't. Especially the marathon nature of it, like the fact that, like I said, some splits are over in 3-4 days. You have this tier, like people were talking about this tier, dude. They're like there are already murmurs and like people are talking about it like Voldemort, dude. They're speaking about it in hushed whispers where they're just like, is this Sepulcher again? Like, is it like it's
Yeah.
already happening? Like people are just like, are we about to? Is this another 3 week tier? Like what's like
What's happening?
yeah, because it's just like when you are at like to give you an idea of where they're at. Liquid is currently the furthest progressed in the raid out of any guild right now, with Echo in second.
Mm-hmm.
Liquid is on the fourth boss. They've killed 3 bosses so far. Vexy was a one shot. The second boss, Cauldron of Carnage, was a one shot. Rick Reverb they killed in 6 pulls. And then now they are on, like I said, they are on Styx Bunk Junker. And Styx Bunk Junker is at 71 pulls, and the lowest health they've gotten him to is 8%. There are 4 bosses after Styx. In theory, if this was like as you would expect from a raid, the difficulty is supposed to increase linearly. So if we're only 4 bosses into the raid and we're at 71 pulls, is the next one 100? Is the one after that 200? Is the one after that 300? Like
Yeah.
you don't know. You don't know. Like so yeah, I think that marathon nature, the unpredictability of what you're dealing with on a constant basis and like just having to actively solve around it, that shit's crazy. Like you just don't get that shit like anywhere else. Them running these splits on like a literal like a guy who's like spreadsheeting their gear, bro. Like literally they're getting loot from splits and they're sending it all to this dude. He's his name is Bubba. He's their analyst. And Bubba is like got like 70 Excel sheets open of like optimal loot distribution across 16 characters per player. Like
Yeah.
it's
And then
wild. Like
keeping track of who has what, how many
yes, no,
times it's
exactly.
dropped, like all that
They
I'm sure goes
they
into it.
started fucking with him at one point because like it was getting like they had like a weird thing where because if one character goes into the raid, they're saved to that raid, so he can't like go in again, so that you have to swap characters.
Yeah.
And they were telling Max they're like they were getting one of the heroic splits together, and they knew Bubba was having like a day, and he was like, Max, what if we just told Bubba that my character was saved right now? What do you think he would do? And Max goes, I don't know, let me find out. And he like goes up the Discord channel and he's just like, hey, Bubba, Tobo, I forget which raid it is, but he's like, Tobo's saved to that raid. So do you know what's up with that? And Bubba goes, you hear him audibly sigh and go, he's what? And he goes, I'm just kidding, Bubba, I'm sorry. And he goes back down and he's like, I think Bubba's gonna blow up. Yeah.
I'm just kidding. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, he literally said, I'm just kidding, I'm sorry. He goes back down to the Raider chat and he goes, yeah, I just told Bubba you were saved and he sighed at me. I instantly gave up. I think he's gonna blow up.
Oh man, that's
It's
great.
like I said,
That's
the
so
vibes
good.
are a 10, dude. The vibes are so good. He Max was like openly talking because they're playing, with all these like Alienware PCs in the Liquid Alienware training facility.
Yeah.
And Max like shows like he's doing like a reflection thing. Like he's putting his phone up to his computer to show the reflection to like the webcam. And he's like, guys, my computer is like shining all these fucking rainbow lights. And it just started happening out of nowhere. And I don't know what to do. It's distracting me. And he like is like showing it on his phone. Like this like rainbow fucking RGB barrage going on in his computer.
He's getting like,
And, like,
flashbang by the
They're
gamer
like
lights.
pulling the boss. And he goes, guys, I just keep seeing these rainbows out of the corner of my eye, and it's making it really hard to follow these mechanics. Like, it's 10 out of 10.
Man.
Like I said, it is really
that's
10 out of
great.
10 shit. So yeah, I give the race a watch. Like I said, I have definitely some fondness for it as a World of Warcraft player who really has fond memories of when I was like raiding in high school and like all that shit.
Yeah.
And when I say this difficulty is beyond anything I ever even attempted, like I was nowhere near close to the skill level. Uh, I do think it is crazy to see people playing this game at this level and like doing it in such like a live and volatile environment. Um, and doing it for like literally like I said days on end, like 12-hour day after 12-hour day after 12, like trying to maintain healthy sleep and like healthy eating while like coming in and doing this like mentally taxing thing day in and day out. Like that shit's crazy, man. Like I like straight up, like I don't know, that shit is just crazy. This raid they were getting trucked too. Is what they keep calling it. Apparently there was a dump truck that has been showing up to the hotel where a bunch of the raiders stay at like every day at like 8 a.m. and they're waking up early and they keep referring to it as getting trucked.
It's their alarm clock, man. It's getting them ready to raid.
Yeah. No, it's been a trip, man. It's a great, and like I said, this is a great tier to get watching. Like I said, it happens every day. Like you can tune in every day. It's on Liquid's YouTube channel, their Twitch channel. You can watch the raider specific POVs. A lot of the raiders in the raid are streaming their POV. So if you want to watch someone specific or like Max, who's like raid leading it, you can check it from all those angles. There's the Liquid official broadcast with the casters. Like take your fucking pick, man, and like watch it. Especially because, like I said, this tier is like shaking out to be a very interesting tier. Like it is not going as expected. We're in like really uncharted territory, like as far as a race goes.
I do have a question for you about
Yeah,
the race and
please do.
The expansion of kind of this MMO race esport kind of thing.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with the game Fellowship?
Yeah, the new one that's been getting a bunch of buzz, right?
Yes, yes. How do you think this game kind of falls into this space now, right? Because there's like races to world first across other games as well. Like I see it a lot with Destiny.
Oh yeah,
if
sure.
you want to talk about like the higher profile ones. But Fellowship is kind of just this. It's just the dungeons. It's just the raids. So like is there like a, and then also kind of very loosely Seekers of Skybound something like that. It's some new game
That one I
coming
don't
out.
know. Yeah, I'm less familiar with that one.
That one's
So do
in
you know,
the
correct me, because
extraction
I
zone.
know a little bit about Fellowship, right? Fellowship,
Yeah.
like you said, it's dungeons, right? It's like 4-man.
It's yeah. It's a 4-man dungeon kind of simulator, like
Yeah,
MMO.
and they're like endlessly scaling dungeons.
Yeah,
So
it's
it's
supposed
funny
to emulate the end game like process of MMOs.
yeah. So the thing about Fellowship is actually I think Fellowship is more closely emulating a thing called Mythic Plus that
Yes,
mentioned a little bit earlier, which is essentially
that's what it's
like
supposed to be.
literally, yeah, like endlessly scaling dungeons in WoW. There's a thing called Mythic Plus where basically every season there's a couple of dungeons that get like added difficulties. You run them at like key levels, starting from 0 up to infinity. And the whole idea is you want to like time the key, right? Like you want to finish the dungeon on the highest key you can in the lowest amount of time you can.
Right.
And Blizzard has even built esports around that. There's a thing called MDI, the Mythic Dungeon Invitational, shit like that. Um, and that stuff is, in my opinion, also kind of loosely involved in the race because they have to run Mythics for Mythic Pluses for gear.
Yeah.
They've started the last 2 days, not immediately walking in and fighting Styx Bunk Junker, but doing 2-3 hours of Mythic Plus just to try to get gear out of it. Because right now, this tier in particular, there's some really good gear in Mythic Plus. So like, it's a thing that they have to run. Like, and they're doing like +10s and shit, which is like pretty high keys. But yeah, I mean, even in WoW, so like, yeah, Fellowship, I definitely think will fit into that like Mythic Plus community. But it's interesting because in WoW, there is actually like WoW is weirdly divided now into like 3 niches in endgame. You're a Mythic Pluser, you're a Raider, or you're a PvPer. And like, there is cross pollination. You kind of, especially if you're a Mythic Pluser or a Raider, you probably do like Mythic Plusers will do Raid to get gear for Mythic Plus, and Raiders will do Mythic Plus to get gear for Raid. And like, there are definitely players that hate that portion of it. Like, there are definitely Mythic Plusers that hate raiding, and there are probably Raiders that hate Mythic Plus too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely think so. Fellowship will probably, if it takes off and it does, and I've been hearing good things. There are definitely WoW players that I've heard talk about playing it. it will probably emulate that Mythic Plus style of game, which is cool and neat. Like I said, I think Mythic Plus is interesting. It's definitely testing. It's a different like skill set, right? And I think like MDI and stuff is interesting. Um, but because you're dealing with dungeon bosses, the mechanics are usually a bit less involved. And like I said, I don't think, to me personally, the level of coordination is part of the spectacle, right?
Yeah.
There's a huge difference between coordinating 20 people and coordinating,
coordinating
4 or 5.
Yeah.
Yeah, 4 or 5 people, as the case with Mythic Plus would be 5, and I know Fellowship is 4. Um, so yeah, I think it definitely, if it's a good game, right, it'll probably have a place in that like Mythic Dungeon world, Mythic Plus world.
Hmm.
But as far as like the race, like as we know it, like the race to world first is a spectacle and an event. Like I said, it's so hard to match. If for nothing else, just the sheer player number, man. 20 people. Like what? These are 20-man teams, Like that's crazy. Like I said, it's a
No,
basketball team, it's a football team.
it's
Like
yeah. That's a whole like sports organization.
literally. And like, you know, fucking League of Legends is hard enough with 5. Counter-Strike is hard enough with what? 5, 6, whatever it
5.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah, 5. Like the fucking Apex 20 teams of 3, like, it's only 3 people that you're talking to and like a coach that's 4. Like you are talking about, like you said, sports organizations. You're talking about 20, 30 raiders. You're talking
Yeah.
about 2 or 3 analyst strategy people, 3 or 4 sometimes. A guy
For
for
all
weak
the
auras.
soccer
Like,
fans
yeah.
out there, that's like a whole football club, you know?
Yeah, nah, straight up, whole football club. And like, yeah, like I said, that shit that's not replicatable. Like it doesn't exist anywhere else.
Yeah, no, it's something unique to WoW. It's something special to
Yeah,
the way
this
that game
event, race.
operates,
Yeah.
and yeah, their raids, the way they do raids, and you know.
Hundo P. Yeah. Yeah. Any final questions? Any other ideas? Any thoughts on
No, I
the
think
race as it's presented to you?
I think like as a spectacle, as like an annual event, I think the race is something that I would love to see more of going forward. Like, sure, it's been going on for a couple of years now. Like it's
That's the thing is,
relatively like known, but
it's relatively new. Like the thing is,
yeah,
yeah, the race as we know it today really has only existed for a couple of years when you really think about it. Because like I said, 2018 was when the first time it ever got streamed
yeah,
was in 2018,
and it's only ever
and
really gotten bigger from that.
that's what I'm saying. The broadcast nature of the race, that shit didn't start until probably Castle Nathria in like 2020. Like, like these big productions being put up around the race probably didn't start until, yeah, I would say like Shadowlands, I guess maybe
Yeah,
later Battle for Azeroth, but like much, much later. 2020 at the earliest. Um and like you said, it's really only getting bigger. These productions are getting like more elaborate with more people. They got, for my EU people, who watch EU League of Legends, Medic, LEC caster, he's casting Echo's Race to World First right now. He's part of the casting team for Echo, on the EU end of the guilds. Like there
there
are
you go.
people out there, like, yeah, like yeah.
It's got all your personalities. It's got a lot of your favorite orgs, so
No, yeah. I
it's
would say
just as
that was
valid
one of
as
the
any other
coolest
esport
things
as
to
well.
me. Yeah, was like Liquid buying and merging with a guild. Crazy. Like,
Yeah,
but
insane.
it's, yeah, like, but it's sick. It's sick to see. I love seeing it. I bought some merch. They always do like a run of world first, or a race to world first merch. And I've talked about some of it in prior episodes, but I bought some this year because I think the theming on it was very good. They're basing a lot of the merch is based around the Cauldron of Carnage stuff, so the big mechanical ape and the big like Godzilla monster, and it's very like kind of cheesy 90s monster movie feel, and I
Love
like it a
that.
lot. So
Love
yeah,
that.
yeah, it's sick shit. It's really sick shit. And like I said, if you're looking for something to watch, I would absolutely start, do some tuning in, watch some polls this race, because like I said, this was just shaping up to be a fucking good one, man. It's really shaping up to be a good one. Right now, as we talk about this, I just looked over. I have it muted on my other monitor, And we got a really good Styx bunk junker pull going. Liquid might beat their best. Actually, never mind. Someone just hit a bomb. It's over. Yep.
It's
It's over.
so
Never
over.
mind. Yes,
It was
everyone's
so
dead.
close.
Yeah, everyone is dead. They wiped at 13%.
Fuck, dude. Almost had him.
Hey, like yeah, but yeah, they're getting better. Yeah, it's just it's a sick race. It's looking like a sick race. Fucking yeah, get out there. Watch this small shit. Like I said, there's really nothing like it. I promise you, the Race to World First is the coolest esport that you've like never heard of or watched before. It's sick. Like
Watch some of the smaller ones, break out of your comfort zone.
do it. Yeah, check. There's so many good games out there. So many cool scenes.
If you're tired of your day-to-day hop on League, lose a game, cry about it on the forums, let's go play something else, man. Learn a new game. Check something else out that'll probably you might fall in love with. It might be your next favorite game, you know?
What is our time at right now? Do you know?
Uh we're at 40 minutes on this one, so if we take into account getting like blown up,
Yeah.
probably like
Right of the
I think we're at like a 2 hour mark, just about. Maybe a
Okay.
little.
The only reason I didn't know where we were at in timing, I was wondering if you wanted to do like the little news roundup, or do we have our fill on this one?
I think we've got our fill. I don't like we can save that for
Yeah,
another
I feel satisfied. That's
episode.
why I bring it up. Yeah. All right. Well, in
We'll
that
close
case,
it out.
fuck. I would
Yeah.
say we'll close it out. Like we have told you today. Get out there. Watch some shit you haven't seen before. Look up to see if a tournament in a game you like, or like, something is streaming, and check it out and see what the scene looks like. See what's
Yeah.
going on. And like I said, just get in on this shit. Tetris, Quake, WoW's Race to World First. You pick. Get
WoW.
out there, watch some
Even
shit.
even a
Yeah.
WoW arenas, man.
Oh, dude, I love WoW PvP. I'm a big
Yeah.
WoW PvP stan. I think it's so complicated and crazy. That one is. You want to talk about like watchability? I do think there's some times in WoW PvP where it's like if you don't know what's happening, you're just like,
Yeah.
I don't like what's
The
going
fuck
on.
am I looking at?
Um,
But
yeah. Well, because there's things in WoW PvP that are like so subtle and such a big deal, but when you look at them on the screen, it's like, I don't know, he moved to the right, and it's like, oh, but he broke LOS, and you wouldn't have known it because like if you don't know the way this fucking pillar works, like you wouldn't understand. Like
yeah, like you wouldn't get it.
yeah, and it's like, which subtleties like that definitely exist, and they're good. I think games should have like depth to that degree. Um, but yeah, I think like WoW arenas can definitely get tricky in the watchability standpoint. But yeah, I'm with you. I love arenas too. One of Liquid's raiders is Trill, for anyone who knows the WoW PvP scene. One of the dopest PvPers in World of Warcraft to this day. He also raids in Liquid. He's in the team for Race to World First right now.
Really?
He's one of the men. Yeah, he's
Right on.
part of the 30-man roster. I believe he's in for this. He's been in for Styx for a while because Monk is kind of broken on this boss, so they're 4-stacking Monk, 3-stacking Druid, which is absurd. If you told anyone that they would be doing that for this fight 2 days ago, they would have told you you're insane. But that's where we're at.
Yeah.
Like we are class stacking on the 4th boss in the raid. That's nuts. Like I said, uncharted territory. They've got healers off-specking to DPS Druid right now because of how fucked up this boss is.
That's insane, man. It's crazy.
Nah, it's going nuts out here. It's going nuts. But yeah, thank you for joining us on another a fantastic episode. Really good one.
Got to gush about some of the games that we love. It's always a good time.
No, yeah. I love that, and like I said, I've been big in the race hole, so I'm trying to tell people about it because it's sick shit, and yeah, I'm glad you brought you brought some favorites out there. I love I'm a deep Tetris lover, and I like my time in Quake Live too. So good calls. Cultured as always, we are on this podcast.
See you guys in the next one. Keep it locked here on HotKeys Esports.
Later.